This is the epicenter of soccer in this part of the world, the LA Convention Center, where two new teams get a seat at the MLS table. Atlanta United FC starting from scratch with big ambition. Minnesota United hold the top pick in the SuperDraft, at least for now. And barely a month removed from MLS Cup glory, the Seattle Sounders are ready to reload for a repeat performance.
Have you ever wondered what makes a champion?
For 20 years, our league has served as the beginning of the soccer career for thousands of young players.
How many touches? How many hours?
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to witness the future of Major League Soccer. It all starts here.
Every champion reaches the same destination. A path everybody dreams, but few will walk.
Orlando City SC, select from the University of Connecticut and a member of Generation Adidas, forward Kyle Larin.
Today is a step on that road. History can be traced back to moments like these.
What a save by France! Seattle Sounders have done MLS Cup winners in 2016!
I expect the unexpected because a lot can happen over the next, I think, 30 to 40 minutes.
Who will be the next legend?
Trophy belongs to Kansas City!
We just shook up the soccer world, boys.
It all starts here, the MLS SuperDraft.
Welcome inside the Los Angeles Convention Center for the 2017 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon on the East Coast and the West Coast as well. Russ Thaler here, leading you along for the next several hours, 2 rounds of draft coverage here on MLSsoccer.com. And I'm joined by U.S. soccer coaching legend Ziggy Schmid, Alexi Lawless, analyst with Fox Soccer, former player, former team executive, and the armchair analyst, Matt Doyle. Ziggy, you've been at these team tables here many times over. What are these moments like before the first pick is announced?
It's a great time. It's sort of like going into a game. You got a little bit of butterflies, a little bit of nerves. You have an idea in your mind. You have a plan. Are there going to be trades that change things? But you want to come out of it at the end of the day with more than you went into the day with. You want to get an asset if you can today.
Gentlemen, this is what happens, okay? We've all been in it. We go into these rooms, these conventions, and they seem to pump this air in, all right, that makes human beings do ridiculous things that in a normal situation, out in the real world, breathing real air, they would never, ever do. Now, that makes for incredible drama, incredible theater, and it makes wonderful content for us to talk about. They might do trades. They might talk to people in ways that they haven't talked before. Ultimately, as Ziggy said, this is about, in my estimation, you've had a successful draft if you can get one player that makes an impact. And when I say an impact, either you're playing consistently through the year and making that impact, or if everything goes perfectly, you got a starter that plays throughout the year. If you come out with that, then I think as a team, you have had a successful draft. That's what they're trying to do.
And we've seen over the last 3 years, I think especially, the quality coming out of the draft has gotten better and better and better. You can find starters in this event. I mean, Jack Harrison last year, Keegan Rosenberry, Josh Yarrow, all on down the list. Jonathan Campbell at pick number 13, I think it was, for Chicago. Christian Roldan was a 16th pick 2 years ago and was part of that Seattle team that just won MLS Cup. Teams that blow off the draft, I question their methodology. Teams that take it seriously, you could find high potential, high upside players, and you could find immediate contributors.
And a combination of everything you guys have been talking about has already been happening in this room. The rumors and innuendos are flying all over the place. As I mentioned in the open of the show, Minnesota United hold the first pick of the draft coming into the draft. We'll see if it remains that way. But soon enough, they're going to be vying for players who can make a difference, as Alexi said. And teams are going to start feeling like this is a game, Ziggy. Like, this is it. The adrenaline's pumping.
No, the adrenaline's going. And, you know, when you're holding a #1 pick and you're Minnesota and you need players, can you turn that number 1 pick into 2 players? Is something that you might want to look at. Is the guy you want still going to be there at 3, 4, or 5? And can you turn that into a double pick and get 2 players with that number 1 pick?
Or if you're an expansion team, the optics of it, having that first pick. We know that they are vying for hearts and minds on and off the field. They are coming into a league, some of them doing different things on and off the field. You want that moment as Minnesota where people get to walk up there and say, this is Minnesota, this is who we are taking that first pick.
And now it is time to send it to the podium and the Commissioner of Major League Soccer, Don Garber.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda, and we're so proud to have you leading the NSCAA and doing such a wonderful job while you're helping to build our audience at Major League Soccer. So, good afternoon. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? This is a great day, and I want to welcome everyone to the 2017 Major League Soccer SuperDraft presented by our great partner, Adidas. It has been a really great week here in LA for our league. We had our annual combine down in Manhattan Beach, and many of the athletes here today are well aware of that. We had our league meetings here in LA, and for the first time in our 22-year history, the SuperDraft is going to be here on the West Coast. And this city has been a very important part of our league history. We were founded here 22 years ago, and the league office was actually based in Los Angeles before it moved to New York City. And of course, it is the home of the 5-time MLS Cup champion, the LA Galaxy. And we're going to give you some time here, LAFC. Next year, LAFC will join our league as the 23rd team. And we're sure this thing right here is going to get bigger and better, and will even raise our profile higher here in Southern California. And it's great to see the 2 supporter groups here. As Dan mentioned, it's a great opportunity to bring fans in and make our draft that much more exciting. I will say that when the athletes get up there, and if they're not LA Galaxy fans, and they won't be LAFC players for a while, just give them their chance to have their special place in the sun. Now, we're really pleased to partner with the NSCAA in having our draft here as part of their annual convention. So many of our coaches and technical staff, along with many of our players, have participated in the events that have taken place this week. And Josie Altidore, one of our great players who stood on this stage when he was drafted, and Tim Howard, who stood on this stage when he was drafted, will attend tomorrow's All-American Luncheon. It's a real privilege for us to be part of the convention. So I'd like to thank, many of them are here, the entire soccer coaching community, the youth soccer coaches, the college coaches, for everything that they do to help build the game. And it's an appropriate time for me to thank all of our coaches and technical staff that are here busy working to figure out the future of their teams. You guys are the unheralded ones, and you're the ones that will help shape these men, not just as great players, but as great men and contributors to our community. So I really want to, on behalf of all of us, thank the MLS coaches and technical directors. And I do want to thank Adidas, who's been our partner since our league's founding. The Generation Adidas program is an opportunity for us to bring young players in our league, and today we'll have our first generations Canada player, Adidas Generation Canada player, who signed with our league. And this is the kickoff. Believe it or not, it seems like MLS Cup was just yesterday. This is the kickoff of our 22nd season, the 2017 season. It is a year where our 2 newest clubs, Minnesota United FC and Atlanta United FC, will both make their first picks. This season is also the year where we will open up a beautiful new downtown stadium in Orlando when Orlando City hosts NYCFC in their home opener. This will be our 16th soccer-specific stadium. In the years to come, DC United, Minnesota, LAFC, Atlanta will all build stadiums for our sport. We will have 20 soccer stadiums, which is really a remarkable accomplishment for our league. For all the young men that are here today, this is the beginning of a new chapter in your lives. It's the culmination of years and years of working hard and training and fulfilling the dream of playing professionally in a league that was founded on the basic principle to provide the United States and Canada with a league of our own. Basically, this is a league for you. And I know that many of you who are here came from outside the United States and played in college, and now, along with every other potential draftee in the room, you've made MLS a league of choice. So I want to thank you for that decision, and thank you for beginning your professional careers with us and MLS. And I want to promise you and everyone else here in the room, from our ownership, from our league staff to our club staff, and on behalf of all of our great coaches, we will continue to build Major League Soccer into one of the great leagues in the world. To all of our young kids that are here today, I want you to know that MLS is very proud that our players are not just great athletes, but also are really committed community citizens who work tirelessly to influence the lives of millions of fans through so many community and civic programs. Our players, and soon you will be among them, embrace their position as role models. They believe that it's not an obligation, but it's a gift to be able to give back to the communities where you're going to be living and where you're going to be playing. It's part of our players' DNA, and I hope, and frankly I expect, that it will be part of yours as well. Wherever you play and however your career develops for years to come, the fact that you are going to give back is going to be a very important part of your lives and your role as a professional athlete. And your lives, that new chapter in your lives will start today. For 21 years, the MLS SuperDraft has served as the beginning of the careers for thousands of young players just like you. From our first draft pick in 1996, Brian McBride, who went on to have a great career in MLS, a great career in Europe, a great career with our U.S. national team, to current U.S. national team stars Josie Altidore and Michael Bradley and Clint Dempsey, and Canadian star Carl Larin, and international players, great international players like Joao Plata at Real Salt Lake, Dom Dwyer in Kansas City, and young Jack Harrison in New York City FC. They all began their careers standing up on this stage and getting to wear the scarf of their first professional team. So we all know how hard you work to get here. So to you and to all your families, to your moms and to your dads, I wish you the best of luck. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to witness the future of Major League Soccer. Minnesota United, you are now on the clock.
And so it begins. Minnesota United FC, first year entering Major League Soccer, on the clock. And here's the draft order as we enter the day. And as they say in boxing, cards subject to change, for sure. Atlanta United FC will get the number 2 pick, and they actually traded up to get 2 picks in the top 8 of this draft. Chips to use either for draft picks or perhaps for something else. There are some teams that do not have a pick in the first round, like Orlando, NYCFC, Philadelphia, LA Galaxy last year came to the draft, left before the thing even got underway, but I can confirm that Kurt Analfo, the new head coach at LA Galaxy, and his staff are in the building. Here are the rules for the first 2 rounds, which will take place today. Rounds 3 and 4 will go on conference call this coming Tuesday. 44 total selections in the first 2 rounds of the draft. 4 minutes each team has between selections, 1 timeout per team, and that will last 4 minutes as well. And you can be a part of today's 2017 MLS SuperDraft by interacting with us on Twitter and Instagram as well. Send your questions and comments using the hashtag SuperDraft. So here we go. Minnesota United FC, first pick of their first draft. Who are they looking at, Matt Doyle?
Well, I think coming into the Combine, there were 3 guys who are the consensus top 3. That'd be Abu Danladi, Generation Adidas attacker out of UCLA via Ghana, Jeremy Ibubisi, a Generation Adidas kind of attacker from Duke and Charleston Battery, a USU 20 center forward, and Miles Robinson, another USU 20 Generation Adidas center back from Syracuse University. I think it's Danladi.
And there's a look at Adrian Heath, the head coach for Minnesota United FC.
And if it's Dunladi and you're looking at Adrian Heath there, I mean, this guy's got a history of having some very young, inexperienced players come in and do well. When you look at Kyle Aaron, when you look at
Dom Dwyer,
those
Kevin
types,
Molino,
of players. So if there's anybody out there that can find a way to have somebody in and make an impact in terms of scoring goals, it's that man right there.
Well, it's Dunladi. It's also Ibobise, because he's certainly an option there. Unless they're making a trade right now, they probably have already submitted their indication. But you want to wait a little bit because the camera gets on you. As you're saying, we're saying let's not submit this too early. You're saying at the draft table, but you know who you want at this stage. I think they're going to go with Ibobise.
It's a little foreplay, it works.
I do think it's going to be Dunladi. I think they love his upside, and he interviewed well. And let's remember, if they do make the pick, doesn't mean they won't be trading it 15 minutes from now.
All right, well, the pick is in, as Ziggy said, and let's send it up to the podium for the first pick of the 2017 SuperDraft.
With the first pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Minnesota United select from the University of California, Los Angeles, and a member of Generation Adidas forward, Abu Danladi.
Abu Danladi, 21 years old, out of Ghana. Played for UCLA. Also some questions surrounding some injuries that he's had in his collegiate career.
I think the questions are maybe even a little bit more about toughness than about injuries. This was a guy who maybe didn't have the reputation as a gamer throughout his 3 years career.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to God. It's been a long journey coming from Ghana, and I couldn't be here without so many people. And it's been a lot. It's been a lot, and I thank God. And I just wanted to say thank you to some people. It's hard trying to get my parents from Ghana to be here and my family, but it didn't work out. But I know they're back home in spirit, supporting me. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to them. And I wanted to say a big thank you to my host mom and my host dad, Helena and Chris. When I came from Ghana, they took me in, treated me as their own. They've been really grateful. They didn't expect anything back. And I wanted to say a big thank you to them. I wanted to say a big thank you to my Kimberly and David. They're one of the biggest reasons that I'm here. They just wanted to sponsor a kid from Africa. They didn't know who they were getting, and they decided to take me in and sponsor me, and they've made my dreams come true, and I want to say a big thank you to them. And I want to say a big thank you to Kelsey. She's opened her home for me. Debbie, who has been my guardian since day one. My friends back home. Also UCLA. I've been at UCLA for 3 years. And they've been there every step of the way through thick and thin, and they helped me a lot. And I want to say a big thank you to UCLA as a school and my coaches and my teammates back at UCLA. And I just want to say, another thing I want to say is thank you to Minnesota. I know it was a really hard decision to make. There's great players here, and everybody did really well in the combine, and it was a really hard decision. And I'm blessed that you guys believe in me to help. And I'm really excited to come, and thank you to the fans. And I'm really excited. It's going to be a great journey, and I'm going to come and give it all. And thank you to MLS and Adidas for helping with this giving us the kids opportunity to pursue our dreams. And thank you to all the guys in the combine, and good luck. Thank you.
Abu Danladi, what do you like about this player, Ziggy?
Well, obviously he's from UCLA, so that's a good thing. But I had him as the most talented player in the draft. I think he's got the biggest upside. He can play on the flank. He can also play in the middle. He's got a great turn of speed. He's just a good soccer player.
But he's been hurt.
Yeah.
Is he durable?
Yeah.
You know, when you get into a full season and a unique season like MLS, can he last?
Yeah.
They believe that he can. And look, if they can turn this guy into something even half as good as a Kyle Larin or something, hey, good pick.
The one word I kept hearing about Dunladi as we went through the week at the Combine was upside.
Yeah. I think he has that maybe more than anybody else in the draft. His ability to create immediate separation and then finish plays, that's why he's the number 1 pick.
Dig the bow tie, too.
And it's time for the number 2 pick. Here's Commissioner Garber.
With the second pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Atlanta United select from Syracuse University and a member of Generation Adidas, defender Miles Robinson.
Miles Robinson, center back from Syracuse, the ACC Defensive Player of the Year.
Just a solid all-around player. He doesn't make mistakes at the back. He can win you games at times with his athleticism. This is a guy who I think will be a starter very soon in MLS. And you know, both he and Michael Parker start from Boston, so they can talk about Dunkin' Donuts together, I guess it is. So, I like this pick a lot for an Atlanta team that spent a ton on their attack and need to get cheap value at the back, and there's nothing cheaper than Generation Adidas.
All right, let's hear from Miles Robinson, the number 2 pick.
First of all, first things first, you know, I got to thank my mom and dad. They've supported me my whole life. You know, they believed in me. They believed in me my whole life. You know, without them, I definitely wouldn't be able to be here. So, you know, I have to thank you so much. And I'd also like to thank my sister. She's watching somewhere. She's been a role model to me, so I got to say thank you to her, too. Yeah, you know, growing up, you know, always a kid, you know, loved to play soccer, and I started off with the FC Bolts Academy. Brian Ainscough, he took me in, you know, he was a mentor to me, you know, always teaching me for 10 years and giving me the opportunity to go to Syracuse University. And at Syracuse, I met great people, great friends, you know, great coaches. You know, I got to thank the coaches for teaching me so much in so little time. Ian McIntyre, Yuka Massillin, Matt Verney, massive thank you to you guys. And definitely, you know, I got to thank Wasserman, Corey, Adidas for representing me. You know, my friends and family watching, thanks for watching. I know you guys are probably smiling out there, but yeah, you know, and definitely, you know, I got to thank Atlanta United for giving me this opportunity to prove myself at the next level. So good luck to everyone else out there on the draft, and see you guys soon.
So Miles Robinson is the number 2 pick. Ziggy, what have you seen from Robinson?
Well, I think he's an important pick for Atlanta because he's got pace, and the way their coach is going to want to play, Tata, he's going to want to play aggressive with a high line. I don't know if Parkhurst has enough speed, you know, to play back there. So Robinson is a guy who could step on the field quickly because of his pace and his athleticism.
All right, so Miles Robinson goes number 2 to Atlanta, the number 1 overall pick in the draft, Abu Danladi, and he is standing by with Susanna Collins.
Thanks, Russ. Abu, congratulations. The number 1 pick. Just, you came over here, and I could tell you were a little emotional, but can you kind of describe what it was like to hear your name called?
Well, it's great. It was great. I was speechless. And there's so many great players in the combine, and very competitive people who were driven to play, and it was just great. So I knew it was going to be a hard decision. and I talked to Adrian He, and it was great. Great coach, really good reputation, and I was really excited when I got the opportunity to go to Minnesota. So it's great. It's great.
I've got to ask. I know you've spent some time in California. Hate to break it to you, it's pretty cold in Minnesota. How are you going to adapt to the weather there?
Well, as a soccer player, I mean, when I came back from Ghana is really hot, and when I came to California, I was wearing jackets for the next 3 months during the summer because it was cold. But I adjusted to it, and I'm gonna do the same. And I'm all in 100%, and I'm gonna go out, no excuses. And weather is just another aspect of the game, and I just have to deal with it. And I'm really excited. Yeah.
You got this, Abu. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Russ, we'll send it back to you.
If he thinks LA is cold, wait till he gets a load of Minneapolis. All right. Look, first 2 picks are in. It's time to move on to the teams that are returning in MLS this season. Chicago Fire is next up with the number 3 pick in the draft. And what are we looking at in a Chicago team that really started kind of a rebuild last season?
Well, I'm looking at Nelson Rodriguez talking to Jesse Marsh over there. I think this is the pick that is likeliest to get traded in this draft. Chicago needs guys who will step in right away and do the job because their fan base is frankly running out of patience. And they probably think they can get some GAM or TAM or maybe even a starter for this spot.
Well, we're about to find out what's going to happen with the number 3 pick. Let's go back up to the podium, and the commissioner is ready with the pick.
Okay, we have a trade to announce. How about that? We have a trade involving the Chicago Fire and NYCFC. The Chicago Fire have traded their 3rd overall pick in today's draft to New York City FC. In return for, and this is the first time we've announced the actual amounts, for $250,000 of general allocation money. And with the 3rd pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, NYCFC select from the University of Akron and a member of Generation Adidas and the Tom Fitzgerald Combine MVP, forward Jonathan Lewis.
So here we go, our first trade of the draft and maybe our first slight surprise, perhaps. I saw the look on your face, Ziggy. You like this pick?
Not a surprise for me. I really like Jonathan Lewis. First time I saw him play, knew nothing about him. He caught my eye. He had 12 assists as a freshman, which I think is a really, really good thing. And I think he's a guy who's productive. They've compared him to Nagbe, but I think he's got some more productivity at the end of the day. And I think he's an exciting pick.
To me, it's not Nagbe. I think he's maybe a little more Landon Donovan-esque in that he gets his head up and he wants to create chances in the final third.
Confident young man.
Well, let's hear from the young man right now.
Wow, this is great. I would like to say thank you to my family. They flew all the way from Florida, from Plantation, Florida, to come see me. It's about 10 of them. My boys from Plantation Eagles, my hometown club, they decided to fly up with me, or fly with my parents. I want to say thank you to the University of Akron. They took me into their family, and they really helped me become a better player and get ready for the future. And I want to shout out to Plantation Eagles, Coach Anise and Coach Jimmy. They took me into their family at a lot later age, and they helped me to develop and become a stronger player than what I am today. And I want to say thank you to the MLS and Generation Adidas for giving me this chance to get drafted, and I'm very excited to start my career in the MLS with New York City. So thank you, guys.
People who have been screaming about transparency, we just got a little bit of something there. We actually got the GAM number, $250,000.
Look,
part of that trade.
This is a seminal moment, all right? People for many years now have been screaming about the fact that MLS is not transparent, and those of us in the job that we do, oftentimes we couldn't fully assess what a trade was because we didn't know what was getting returned to a team. $250,000. I mean, that's a good chunk of money for a player that hasn't played a single minute in Major League Soccer.
But I'll say, he's worth it. Jonathan Lewis, I think he's a super player. I think he's a super pick. I think he can come in and balance Jack Harrison on the other side, the last year's top draft pick for NYCFC. I do wonder what it means for Tommy McNamara. Do they see him now as a number 10, a central midfielder? Things are evolving a little bit for NYCFC. I don't think they're going to be the older team that we saw last year. I think they want to go young and they want to go fast.
I will take a second here to introduce the newest member of our panel here at the LA Coliseum at the draft, Sasha Surabski, head coach, University of Maryland Terrapins. Great to have you with us, Sasha. Sasha, you know these guys coming out of college as well as anybody. What do you think of this pick, Jonathan Lewis from Akron?
Yeah, he's like Siggy said earlier, he's a real exciting player. Only played 1 year at Akron, but he's made his headway through. He was overseas for a year before he came back to Akron, and I know Tab Ramos likes him a lot on the U20 national team, and I think both your analysis was spot on. He's got a little Landon Donovan, and he's got a little bit of Nagby to him. I think it's an exciting pick, and I think he'll fit into New York City FC's attacking style of play with wingers that will support David Villa.
All right, before we move forward, let's take a step back. And Susanna Collins has the number 2 pick in the draft with her right now.
Thanks, Russ. Miles, congratulations headed to Atlanta United. At what point do you think that this is all going to sink in for you?
Maybe tonight. I don't think it's sunk in yet, but I'm definitely honored to be drafted, second overall to Atlanta. I'm excited to get out there and play with those guys, so it's a good experience already. So.
It's going to be their first season in MLS. You've got a guy like Tata Martino at the helm, such an important name in soccer. How cool is it for you for this to be your professional debut with a team like this?
Yeah, it's unbelievable, honestly. It's like a dream come true. It's a new franchise, but I feel like it's a franchise that has great potential, with such great coaches, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
I read somewhere that you're looking forward to buying a car. So I have to ask you, if you're going to buy a car, what's the dream car of your choice?
I mean, I don't know really yet. I'm maybe I got to get used to Atlanta at first, but
Atlanta traffic, you need a car.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I don't know. I'm just excited to get drafted. It's just a dream come true. I'm just happy right now. So.
Thanks so much, Miles. Congratulations. Yeah. Ross, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Susanna, Miles Robinson there, and Jeremy Lewis was the number 3 pick to NYCFC after our first trade. We're awaiting the 4th pick in the draft. Alexi?
Well, look, Ivo Bise still is sitting out there, sitting pretty. Possibly somebody comes in. What are we looking at here? Houston, right? Houston's on the clock here. I see them trading down, maybe moving down, maybe somebody like a Portland coming into that spot. And then taking
To me, I think that Jackson Ewell is such a natural pick for Houston with what they're doing, which I think is going to be a 4-3-3 with pure attackers on the wings. I do worry about them overthinking it, but I'm hearing what you're hearing. I think a trade is pretty likely here.
All right, we have guesses from the desk. Let's get to reality up at the podium. Here's the commissioner.
Okay, we are moving fast here, and we have another trade to announce involving the Houston Dynamo and the Portland Timbers. The Houston Dynamo have traded the 4th overall pick in today's draft to the Portland Timbers for $100,000 of allocation money and international roster spot, and the 10th overall pick in today's draft. And with the 4th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the Portland Timbers select from Duke University forward Jeremy Ibobise.
Jeremy Ibobise, a projected number 1 in some drafts.
Yeah, the Timbers just hit it out of the park. They need a backup number 9 for Fernando Adi, who is one of the best at that position in the league. They got a guy who can do that, and I think who can do it for a long time. I had him going number 1 in my mock.
All right, here he is, Jeremy Ibobise.
Wow. I remember being a young kid, going to MLS games and celebrating our birthday parties there. And we had the opportunity to play on the field at halftime, have our little scrimmage, our 15 minutes of fame. And it was just something incredible. And now to get to this point where I'm going to be the one being ushered off the field for the next generation, it's really incredible. And I think it's a testament to the fact that dreams can come true. obviously along the way, there's been a lot of people that helped me get to this point. So I want to say a few thanks before I get off the stage. I'd like to start with Bethesda and Only Soccer Clubs, and in particular Matt Pilkington, my club coach. Together, we started in a middle school backyard and played some great soccer, built some great players, had some great memories. And for that, I'm really, really pleased and I'm really thankful for all of them. To my agents, Courtney, Lyle, the rest of James Grant, you guys have been with me since the beginning of this professional journey, and I couldn't be happier to have you by my side. To my friends back home watching, there have been a lot of nights where you guys have had to keep me company, and I'm extremely grateful for the fact that you guys have kept me focused on my dreams and never lose sight of my goals. To my family at Duke, my coaches, Coach Kerr, Coach Miller, Coach Brady, and then Coach Rich, who's here as well. All my teammates, you guys have played the most profound impact in my development as an adolescent. I came in a 17-year-old inexperienced kid who thought he was ready to conquer the world, but now I feel as if I've left a young adult who's mature and ready to go on in the league. And then finally, my family, my father, my brother who wished they could be here, and my mother who's here in the crowd videotaping me right now. You guys have shown me unrelenting support and unconditional love through this whole journey, and I wouldn't be the person I am without you guys. It all started with the practices, the games, the international trips, the domestic trips, college visits. You guys have made so many sacrifices so that I could do what I love and so that I could be happy, and for that, I'm extremely, extremely grateful. You've shown me support when I've needed it, but you've also scorned me when I've taken it for granted, and I can just promise that I'm not going to take this opportunity for granted. And to Portland, this is an extremely blessed opportunity, and I'm really excited to be joining your organization. I'm excited to meet the city and get to know the fans and hopefully bring back an MLS Cup. Thank you all, and good luck to everyone else.
Quite a speech from the number 4 overall pick. Sasha, I'm sure you've followed this guy for a long time out in your backyard, Bethesda, Maryland, Walter Johnson High School.
I've known him since he's 12 years old, and unfortunately he's a kid that got away, but he had a great experience at Duke. This is a young man I think is a great fit for Portland. Not only is he a good backup to Adi, but also they've been lacking a player like Rodney Wallace that maybe can get outside with the left foot and get some better wide play. You saw he's got great talent, but this kid's character's off the chart. He almost had a perfect SAT score. This is a young man that is going to be a great fit, and he's a big-time player.
You didn't have a perfect SAC.
No, I didn't.
I didn't either. But money speech from him. Music to the commissioner's ears in terms of legacy and all that.
And the commissioner's at the podium with the 5th pick.
With the 5th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Columbus Crew SC select from the University of Dayton, defender Al-Hassan Abubakar.
The San Jose Earthquakes are now on the clock.
And there he is, Al-Hassan Abubakar from Dayton University. He is the 5th overall pick. Already started work at his master's degree. We're getting all the smart guys up here at the podium.
And he won't have to go far to make it to Columbus from Dayton. I thought he was arguably the best central defender at the draft, and suddenly, or at the combine, and suddenly Columbus, that's no longer a weak spot for them.
First of all, I want to thank the Almighty God, for how far He has brought me. It's a long journey from Ghana, so I want to thank Him. And then I want to thank the Columbus Crew organization for believing in me and then giving me a great opportunity. I really appreciate it, and then I can't wait to start with the club. And I want to thank all my families, for their support. My friends, everyone, my teammates, every other coaches, that I've went under them ever since I was growing up. My coach back in Ghana, Prince Owusu, my here Dayton Soccer. I really appreciate you guys coming to get me here. And then I want to thank all the PDL teams I've played for here and the coaches that I've went under them. I really appreciate the opportunity for and then I want to thank everyone here who is present here, my teammate, my colleagues, who are here to be drafted. It's been a really long week for us, and I'm really happy, for us. And then good luck to everyone. Thank you.
And there he is, Alexi's favorite name in the draft, Lalas Abubakar, out of Dayton, going to Columbus Crew.
Yeah, it's only up for this man with a first name like that. But we talked about his physical abilities, his ability to read the game. Even during the combine, people were saying, all right, well, what's going to happen when that ball gets played behind him? Can he recover? And I think he lived up to many of the challenges.
It's not just that. He was a gamer. He went out there and he played just about every minute in games that, frankly, he didn't really have to. And he played every minute hard. And I think that caught the eye of literally every coach in the league.
Yeah, I think you also see not only the talent, but he's much more disciplined. We saw him in his first year. We played against them, and you can see the athletic, raw talent. But now you're seeing a polished, mature central defender that has the physical skills, but also now is a little more disciplined to his game and maybe doesn't cause some of those fouls or reckless fouls that he was guilty of early. It's a great pick. You don't want to be a forward going up against this young man.
And I think central defense was a weak spot for Columbus last year. But now between him and a guy you know,
Alex
Cronali from University of Maryland, they have two guys I think they could build around for a good long while.
And they'd like to play with a high line, so having guys that can play out of the back, but also having some speed with both Cronali and Lalas, I think they can. You said they had Parkhurst before, great player, but maybe was lacking a little bit of speed. I think this is some good young players, along with Menza, another Ghanaian that they've picked up as well.
Ghana loves MLS.
Yeah.
Yeah, and MLS loves Ghana.
Yep. Yes.
The Right to Dream program is a big deal here. If you want to chime in on what's going on the Super Draft, the hashtag is SuperDraft on Twitter and also on Instagram as well. San Jose Earthquakes are coming up, and it has been an offseason of change in the Silicon Valley. Matt, for sure. New general manager in town.
Yeah, and so it's a little tough to get a read on what they're going to do. I had them taking Lalas Abubakar in my mock draft. I don't know what direction they'll go in right now. I do like the fact that Jackson Ewell's still on the board for them. I think he fits a need because he's a central midfielder who can play box-to-box and spread the ball around. And Dom Kinnear has had a lot of success with guys like that in the past.
Jesse Fiorinelli is a guy who's spent time at big clubs in Europe, but he's a bit of an unknown quantity here in the States.
And he talked about this week that he's still getting his bearings when it comes to MLS, and it doesn't matter where you're from. MLS is a very, very unique league and takes a little while to figure out.
All right, let's see what the Quakes are going to do.
With the 6th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the San Jose Earthquakes select from UCLA and a member of Generation Adidas, midfielder Jackson Ewell.
The Vancouver Whitecaps FC are now on the clock.
Bloomington, Minnesota native, high on many people's pre-draft boards, and here he is going to the San Jose Earthquakes. You guys were just talking about him.
Yeah, I think he fits in really any formation because he's committed. He plays both sides of the ball. He's going to cover ground for you. And to me, he has a better ability to hit the last pass than people seem to want to give him credit for. I think he's not going to be a clinical number 10 or a traditional number 10, but I think he can help any team in terms of creativity.
Well, he had 3 assists in 32 seconds in a game against Akron, so he can hit that last pass. Here he is, Jackson Ewell.
First off, I want to say how much an honor it is to me to be up here and behind this podium in front of all of you. It's been a dream of mine ever since I was a little kid. So I'm truly thankful for all the support that I've gotten, and truly thankful for my family who was able to be out here today. My beautiful mother, my always supporting father, my brother, and my sister. So thank you guys for coming out. I really appreciate it. I'd also like to thank everyone at UCLA. My coach, Jorge Salcedo, he brought me in his family. Really had a lot of fun there. Want to say thank you to my teammates and all my friends there. I'd also like to say thank you to all my friends from back home in Minnesota. It was a lot of fun growing up with all of you guys, and I'm sure you're watching, so really glad to have you guys as friends. I'd also like to say thank you to the San Jose for drafting me. It'll be a lot of fun coming and playing with you guys and playing in front of the amazing fans that you have. So super excited to start my career. So thank you very much.
Look at Jackson Ewell. Sato, you know this guy. You've seen him play.
We play UCLA every year with him. He's a great box-to-box midfielder, great feet, even a better mind for the game. I see him as a real number 8. He could play a 10, he could even play a 6. He's added a little more bite to his game now, and I think that's going to fit in well with Dom. You got to have a blue-collar work ethic if you're playing for Dominic Kinnear, and I think he's added that dimension. He's a good box-to-box guy. I think he'll get on the field very quickly.
Can he defend? Can he defend? We don't see him defend a whole lot. I know you said he's a two-way type of player, but can he defend in a type of situation? What do you think?
I think he's added that to his game. I think his experience to the national team and that UCLA has been asked to do a little bit more this year in that category. I think at the combine, I saw him make some tackles that looked like he's matured that element of his game.
In the last month of the season for UCLA, as well as a lot of their other players were either injured or kind of not stepping up. Jackson Ewell certainly did. He took more and more on his shoulders.
Yeah, we've sort of reached the end of the consensus of what the top picks are in the draft. You start looking at the mock drafts, everything starts to go a little haywire at this point with different names popping in. Here come the Vancouver Whitecaps with the 7th pick in the first round. And it's going to be very interesting to see where they go with this pick, or even if they keep this pick, because not everybody seems to agree on where the next step lies.
I think this is just so easy, though. I think you
do.
pick Adoi Achim.
Wow.
I think that...
Goes right for the Maryland guy.
Well, right back lost them games last year. I don't think they can...
With the 7th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Vancouver Whitecaps FC select from the University of Connecticut, defender Jacob Nowinski.
Matt Doyle calls for the Maryland guy, and a guy from his alma mater gets picked.
I'm stoked. Look, I think Nowinski, he showed out at the combine, especially in physical testing. He is an elite athlete. I don't think he's quite as elite as Adoi Achim, but there's been some good luck with Huskies going in the first round of this draft recently, so I'm all for this. He is an overlapping right back. He will cover end line to end line relentlessly for this team.
Let's listen in and hear what he has to say.
This is pretty awesome. I like to, first and foremost, thank Vancouver for giving me this opportunity. I'm so excited to, go to the next level. They're really making my childhood dream a reality. Next, I'd like to thank my family. My sister Sarah and my parents. I couldn't have been standing up here without them today. Their constant support and love, and they have always been my rocks, so I thank them for that. And I'd like to thank my coaches from NJSA, Antonio Meza and Tab Ramos, for always pushing me as hard as I can go and really kind of helping me make that jump to Division I soccer. And lastly, I'd like to thank the coaches at UConn, Ray Reed, John Dealey, Tim O'Donoghue, and Mike Miller, and Andy Parker and John Donlin. I don't think I would be up here if it wasn't for them, if it wasn't for Coach Reed always pushing me, a great relationship with him, and I just really thank him for everything he's done. Thank you.
So Jacob Nowinski, a Jersey boy through and through from Lawrenceville, New Jersey. Both his parents played at Ryder, also in New Jersey.
This is a young man who really helped himself in this combine. He had a good first day at right back, and then the last day he did very well as a left back. I think his versatility helped him. Ray Reed has touted Jake for the last few years, and he showed this weekend why Ray's been touting him. I think his versatility, his athletic ability got Vancouver excited, and as a result, I think he moved up in the draft as much as anybody so far, along maybe with Jonathan Lewis.
And we'll see where Carl Robinson decides to play him in Vancouver. But before we move forward again, we go back. Jeremy Ibobisi, now a Portland Timbers draftee, and he's with Susanna Collins.
Thanks, Russ. All right, Jeremy, you walked over here. You said your heart was beating uncontrollably fast. Has it kind of come down a little since they called your name?
Yeah, I think my heartbeat is finally getting back to a resting beat. But even on the stage, I could feel my face twitching. It was a really scary moment speaking in front of that many people. But I got it over with, and I couldn't be more excited with this opportunity.
You were very composed, I assure you. So you're headed to Portland. When you look at that team and the success that they have had in the past, how do you feel like you are going to contribute to that squad?
I think I'll be a good forward for the team. I'll be able to come into preseason, work really hard, and get to know the guys. And I think that my talent speaks for itself, but I think that it'll complement some of the guys that they have as well. The likes of Nagby, Addy. I know that I will work well with the team, and I'll be a team player, and I'll play whatever role they need me to play so that they can get back an MLS Cup or a weekend.
So I saw earlier you tweeted a picture of you and your mom. I know she's out there. She was watching you give your speech. What does it mean to be able to share this moment with her?
It's an incredibly special moment. Having signed in August, we've been looking forward to this moment since August for the last 6 months, and there's been a lot of anxiety, and to finally get it over with and to have her by my side,
It's really, really exciting. I know my brother and my father are watching somewhere in spirit, as well as my friends back home, but it's an extremely exciting day for the whole family.
Enjoy this moment. Congratulations, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Russ, back to you.
Jeremy Babisi taking the road less traveled too. Dropped out of college, signs with MLS, gets loaned out by the league to Charleston Battery, and here he is with the number 4 pick. It's time for the number 8 pick in the first round, and it goes right back to Atlanta United FC. This is a team that picked second. They made a trade dealing with the expansion draft, so Atlanta already making some moves. They're already up to number 8. They get a second pick here in the first round already. Where do they look? Well, they looked on defense to start, which is what we thought they'd do since they spent a lot of money to pick up attacking players. Where do they go now?
I think you probably go best talent available. You're an expansion team, so you have holes everywhere. I do think it's a Dewey Acham. That said, Daniel Johnson, who really showed out on day 1 at the Combine. Another guy you're familiar with, Sasha.
Yeah, I'm familiar with both of them. And, you know, you can make a case for Daniel Johnson, obviously a local Atlanta product there. Grew up playing for Tony Anand, the director of the Youth Academy. He's a terrific young player, spent two good years with us. Things didn't work out as well. Moved on to Louisville, had a great career. But Chris Aduiacho, I think, makes a lot of sense. I know that Atlanta liked him. I think it could be one of those two. But at this point, once most of the GAs are gone, it becomes a bit of a crapshoot.
All right, it's time for Atlanta United's pick at number 8. Here's the commissioner once again.
With the 8th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Atlanta United select from Providence College midfielder Julian Gressel.
All right, so a bit of a surprise considering the names you guys were throwing out, but Sasha, what do you know about Julian Gressel?
He can play. He scored every time he's played against us. The reasons we didn't play far this year. He scored 2 goals. He's a terrific young player. We'll let him speak here, and I'll add in some comments after that.
All right, so let's listen to the number 8 overall pick in the 2017 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas. Here's Julian Gressel from Providence College.
Man, how cool is this, huh? Yeah, first and foremost, I gotta thank my family who's back home in Germany. I hope they can see me right now, and they were anxious this whole time. Especially thanks to my mom. She's done a lot of sacrificing ever since I started playing soccer. And yeah, just everybody back home. What's up? Then second, I got to thank everybody at Providence College, especially my 2 coaches that have been there with me in this past 3.5 years and have really made this possible for me. I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for them, and all my former teammates up at PC as well. I'm sure hopefully all of them are watching. And yeah, really the whole Friar family, because it's been such a big blessing to go to that school and be part of their family for the last 3.5 years. So go Friars. And then I got to thank my beautiful girlfriend who flew across country to be here today with me. And then I'm really excited to be part of Atlanta United and really thankful for them to believe in me. It's a huge honor to be part of something new, and I'm really excited to get going and start winning some games. Thank you.
Here's Julian Gressel, quite an American-sounding German up there. Yeah. How great is this? He said, how good is he, Sasha?
He's a great player. First of all, he can play on the right side of the midfield, left side. He's got a little Jordan Morris that way. He can get outside. He's very powerful, very strong, terrific passer of the ball. But I like him as a number 9. He scored 2 great goals against us this year. He works hard. He's good in the counter, but he's also a very tactically alert player. He knows how to bring people into the game with him, and I think he's going to get on the field for Atlanta this year.
He can play pretty much everywhere. I mean, he spent a couple years playing central midfield as well. Alexi, is there? It's almost a problem sometimes with some players. You become pigeonholed as a utility man rather than being able to develop at one spot.
Yeah, and at times it's okay, because if something's occupied by a veteran or somebody that just is better than you, then you can move to someplace else. But at some point, both the player and the coach and the organization kind of needs to solidify what position. But he's young. The Jordan Morris comparison, I think, is spot on, because there's this heft to him. He's solid. All right, the guy's like a tank, and yet he's not particularly big, 6'1", 185. But he uses it well. He uses that mass well and understands the game. But it's not all about bang, 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 bang. He's got a nice soft touch. He can deliver a ball if need be and score the goals in this.
Julian Gressel, the second pick here in the first round and the first 8 selections of the draft. Here's a look back at the top 8, and Abu Danladi going #1 overall to Minnesota United FC. And there was a lot of talk about trades at the top, but so far it's been trade light.
I mean, the 3 and 4 got traded, right? And the Lewis thing was big because of the amount of GAM. But we'll see what happens from here on out.
All right, now we get another team with a second
the 9th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Columbus Crew SC. Select from the University of New Mexico, forward Nico Hansen.
The Portland Timbers are now on the clock.
So Nico Hansen is the selection from the Columbus Crew at number 9 overall.
Kind of a forward, a second forward, not a number 9, and kind of a winger. I think he ends up on the wing, maybe playing inverted at this level. Could be a backup for Justin Miram. As you can see there, he has really great footwork in tight spaces. To me, he struggles sometimes to link play. He is a guy who is almost always better in the open field or on the counterattack.
I think consistency has been an issue for him. I know Jeremy Fishbein loved him.
Man. Oh, I don't know where to start. I just have to say thank you to so many people. I wrote a list here of all the people I keep track of. First of all, I want to say thank you to Columbus. Thank you for believing in me and thank you for choosing me. Thank you to my agent, Patrick. I want to say thank you to my coaches, starting all the way from my club time, high school and moving up to college. Jeremy Fishbein, Paul Souders, Mike Grazik, Brandon Moss, and Salva Biller. And all my teammates back in New Mexico, all the ones I've had over the last 4 years. I want to especially thank all my friends that believed in me, both back in Denmark and here in the U.S. Made some awesome friends. And, of course, I want to thank my family for always supporting in me and always being there for me. I also want to thank my dad and my sister, and especially my mom, who's done so much for me over the past 10 years. I really appreciate it, and I love you. And I want to thank my girlfriend as well. And thank you again to Columbus. I can't wait to be out there and meet the fans and be in the city. So thank you again.
I blame Julian Gressel. He started it thanking his girlfriend. And now Nico Hansen says, of course, I have to thank my girlfriend as well. I think they all do at this point. Nico Hansen on his way to Columbus Crew. Where does he maybe fit in with this squad?
I mean, they need more wingers. They always need more wingers with that group, and I think he could be a backup on either side. Maybe a little bit more, now that I think about it, for Ethan Finley on the right side than for Miram on the left, but they added some talent today.
All right, that was Nico Hansen, the number 9 pick. The number 6 pick was Jackson Ewell, going to the San Jose Earthquakes, and he's with Susanna.
Thank you, Russ. Jackson, it's almost like this moment was meant to be. Look at you in the blue suit. You've got the blue scarf on with the Quakes. How excited are you in this moment right now?
I'm thrilled to, I'm just thrilled. I have my family here, so I'm really excited for them. Really excited for myself. Emotions are everywhere right now, and so it's hard to describe them, but I'm absolutely thrilled that I'll be able to go to San Jose.
Well, my guy, Kalen Carr, came over here, was talking to you about playing for Dom Kinnear, what that experience is going to be like. What kind of coach do you think he's going to be, and how will you adapt to his style?
I met with him earlier this week, and, he just brings a different form of enlightenment. He's just super happy. I think learning under him is going to be a great experience, definitely coming in as a young player. So I think him, take me and teach me his way. I think it's going to be really good learning from him.
Well, you're a Minnesota guy. You've been in California, Southern California. Now you're making the move to NorCal. Is it kind of a relief to stay on the left coast?
Yeah, I love the West Coast. Everything about it. The weather's awesome. Southern California is good, but I'm ready to move up to North Cal.
Awesome, good stuff. Thank you so much, Jackson. Russ, back to you.
All right, Jackson Ewell there with Susanna, and it's time to round out the top 10 here in the first round. It's going to be Houston Dynamo. They're on the clock right now. Remember, they made the trade with Portland Timbers earlier, so it's Dynamo on the clock. Their time is running out to make a pick, but there's still good players available, players that you guys have been talking about but haven't come off the board yet.
I think it's the two guys we mentioned. I think it's Dewey Atcham and Daniel Johnson. Outside the box pick might be Zico Lewis, the winger from Boston College, but he's an international. So I think he would be tougher for Houston to pick.
Joe Holland, outside.
Another international as well, unfortunately. Holland was great at the combine.
I bet you they pick him.
All right. All right.
International or not, going for Holland. And again, one of your guys is a guy we keep talking about. Hasn't come off the board yet, but he's going to be, Odi Atsum is there for the picking.
Yeah, I think he'll be picked soon. I think, he signed a contract yesterday with the league. I think it'll be a matter of time. It's just the right fit. Keep in mind that the assistant coach for Houston here is Mike Delarusso, a former coach of mine and player of mine, so who knows? There could be a wild card.
Keep it in the Terps family.
Could happen.
And just because something happens in the combine, the reality is that all of these people out there have to have done their homework already.
With the 10th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the Houston Dynamo select from Hofstra University midfielder Joseph Holland.
The Chicago Fire are now on.
Well, you nailed it, Alexi. The pride.
I don't believe Joseph's here.
So we'll just talk about him then.
Yeah, well, we played against him this year as well. Played in the midfield for Hofstra University. He's a great player. Maybe was the most complete first 11 ready midfielder at this combine. He's got very, very good feet. He covers a lot of ground. He hits a great free kick, which is not a value to him, but he's got 2 great feet. You'll see him there with the left foot. I've seen him score with his right foot. This young player is the real deal. He may be one of the best players in the entire draft.
I think he's kind of a classic English central midfielder in that you don't want to slot him right underneath a forward. You want him maybe a little bit deeper, and then he can come late into the box. He is, as you said, very two-footed. Very, very, very good at receiving the ball in traffic, turning out of that pressure, and making a play. Not necessarily a spectacular play, but just keeping the ball moving and keeping possession.
Guy who came through the college system from London, England, and they actually spoke in his school about how he came in very, very hot-headed and a little bit immature, and his time at Hofstra has sort of smoothed out those rough edges, and here he is, professional ready, coming out of Hofstra, ready to go with MLS in Houston Dynamo.
And you said immature. It was interesting talking to coaches. Maturity was one of the things that they actually mentioned on the field, is that one of the most mature midfielders, number 8 type of players out there.
But isn't that one of the beauties of the college experience? You take players that maybe aren't ready, whether it's technically or tactically, or maybe it's psychologically, they're not ready, and you have time. And you learn a lot about yourself. You become a man in more ways than one. And that's one of the beauties we're seeing here. We're seeing a lot of mature players. I mean, Julian Gressel, maybe he wasn't ready to make it in Germany at 18, 17, but now he comes here and he's refined his game. He's had time. And this is a college success story for a young man from England coming here. And now he's got a chance to play for the first 11 right away.
And he was a late invite to the combine as well. So he did kind of come out of the blue over the last couple of weeks. It is interesting because he is already 23 years old, I believe. He's one of the older players in the combine, one of the older players in the draft. That tells me Houston thinks they're going to get something from him right away. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah. But I also think that in the United States and in Major League Soccer, what an old player is, that definition is kind of changing, and maybe there's a different definition in the United States of what an old player is or what a young player is right now, in comparison to the rest of the world, which I know we always do that compare and contrast, but the tools that he got in terms of going to college and having all of those lessons learned both on and off the field are as important as kicking the ball or any type of coaching from a soccer perspective he gets.
All right, so Holland goes to the Houston Dynamo, and here's the next pick, number 11 to Chicago.
With the 11th pick of the first round, the Chicago Fire select from the University of Louisville, midfielder Daniel Johnson.
Daniel Johnson from Louisville was the talk of the combine after day one. You were first and foremost in that praise, Matt Doyle.
Yeah,
what did you see?
I mean, he took a match and he lit everybody else on fire. His first 45 minutes was the best I've ever seen a field player play at the combine. He had 2 assists, drew a penalty as well, completed just about every pass, and shredded any defender who was up against him 1v1. Tested better than people expected in terms of his agility, especially. So he's a guy who makes the first guy miss, and that is a very important skill for anybody who plays on the wing. Reminds me a little bit of Eddie Gavin down to the haircut.
Let's hear from Daniel Johnson.
Wow. First of all, I'd like to thank Chicago for giving me the opportunity and for believing in me, a chance to come in and fulfill my dream. There's a couple people I'd like to thank along the way. I would first like to thank my family back in Atlanta, my mom for being here, and my dad for always being supportive. All my brothers for growing up and playing with me for hours in the backyard. My Atlanta soccer family and Tony Annan, Ray Tomlin, Ryan Austin, Eric Kump, Coach K, a number of coaches who's helped me along the way. Have 2 schools to thank, and the University of Maryland and Sosh and everything I learned there, and want to thank Ken for giving me a chance to revitalize my career at Louisville. It's, dream come true. It's a dream I chased an ocean away and back. So, I'm really thankful and excited to start my dream. So, thank you.
Daniel Johnson, draft pick of the Chicago Fire, started his collegiate career at Maryland. Didn't finish it there, Sasha, but what drew you to him, and what actually led him to not finish with you?
Yeah, I tell you, I'm so happy for DJ. He's got a great family, Steve and Diane, great parents. His dad was a baseball player at Maryland. He came to Maryland a year probably premature. He graduated high school a year early, couldn't get a contract through FIFA regulations with West Ham, came to us, and he got stuck with a glut of midfielders. Maybe he was a little young. We had some key guys in the midfield, Tsubasa Endo in there, and guys that played his position, so he couldn't get up there. And we supported his decision to find a new place, and he revitalized his career. As he said, at Louisville, it was a great fit for him, and couldn't be happy for him. This is a young man who's got beautiful feet, a great heart, loves the game, a great appetite for learning. He's a junkie. And this is, to see him flourish now, he's added about 15, 20 pounds. He's matured, and now he's legit. And like you said, Matt, that first 45 minutes, man, he put on a show at the Combine.
Yeah, he really did. He doesn't play upright. A lot of young players.
He's a Steve McManaman type of posture when he's going out there, and obviously the cutting in from the left-hand side on the right. It's just he glides at times.
He's got a little Cal Martino to his game.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Cal Martino to his game. He's very, very creative. That's the first word you think of, creative, and he wants to combine almost to a fault at times. But now he's added some production. Now he's getting goals and assists to his game, and yeah.
I think this is a really, really good pick for the Fire. Obviously, they've spent a lot on attackers over the last couple of years. He will find time with this team because, to me, he is a true winger. And they don't have a lot of true wingers. They have a lot of guys who are maybe more second forwards. So I think he can help. And the other thing he can help with Chicago's possession. They didn't possess the ball a lot last year. And if they're going to play a 4-4-2 a lot, they're going to need their outside midfielders to come inside and help out. And we saw that on day 2 when he hit that ball over the top.
All right, DC United is on the clock now with the next selection, and their clock is just about to run out. There's the ding, and it looks like we might have our first timeout of the day, which adds some intrigue to the proceedings. A timeout is a 4-minute timeout. Each team is allowed just 1 timeout for the draft, and the black and red of DC United are the first ones off the board.
That phone must have rang at the last minute. I mean, this had to have been the Odoi pick for.
So as a reminder, every team is entitled to a 4-minute timeout, 1 per round, and DC United is taking a timeout. So we'll be back in 4 minutes.
Took the words right out of my mouth, the commissioner. There. We got 4 minutes for DC United, and an offseason for a team that really made a big move mid-season last year. DC looked sluggish at the start, struggled to pick up points, and suddenly a couple of acquisitions, and they go on a run and get into the playoffs. Again, 3rd straight year under Ben Olsen.
They went on a pretty mighty run in the second half of the season. They became an attacking juggernaut. To me, the fact that they haven't just picked a Duiacham right here tells me they are moving Nick De Leon to right back permanently. Right. So they don't need another right back. Duiacham still has a lot of, I think, trade value. I think somebody's going to try to trade into this pick. It'll be interesting to see how much GAM or TAM DC are able to get with this.
We'll know exactly.
We'll pick up more on DC United in just a second, but right now, Julian Gressel, recent draft pick of Atlanta United, is with Susanna Collins.
Thanks, Russ. Julian, congratulations going to Atlanta. Now, this is actually, you're kind of part of history, right? This is their inaugural season. How cool is that to be on the ground floor of this thing?
It feels unbelievable, to be honest. It's been a great honor to be drafted by them and be part of something new, like you said. Just so happy, to be honest.
Now, On our website and in other places that I've read, your game, your style has been compared to guys like Michael Bradley, which, is pretty good company to keep. Whose game do you watch, and is there a player that you would sort of like to emulate their career?
I've always loved Bastian Schweinsteiger. I know that's a very, very high, big footsteps to fill, but yeah, I love him as a player, as a person, and as just what the kind of career he's had. It's definitely what I model, or what I try to follow, but no, yeah, it's just, but I also want to be myself, to be honest. I want to start my own thing and be Julian Gressel at the end of the day as well.
We can't wait to watch Julian Gressel in Atlanta. Congratulations. Russ, back to you.
Susanna, time for us to take a quick 30-second break. Remember, join the conversation with the hashtag SuperDraft, and we'll be right back from the LA Convention Center.
The game you love in your hand. Breaking news when it happens. All the best match highlights. Real-time stats. And live scores. Hundreds of live match streams. Follow your favorite clubs. Anywhere. Anytime. The newly designed MLS app. Download for free today.
Back live here in the LA Convention Center. LAFC supporters a year ahead of their introduction to Major League Soccer, already in full voice here. LA Galaxy fans in the house as well. They're going back and forth just a little bit. Russ Taylor here with Matt Doyle. Ziggy Schmid rejoins us at the desk, and Sasha Swarovski, head coach Marilyn Terrapin's with us as well. We're coming up on the 12th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, presented by Adidas, and DC United is the team with that pick. They are in the midst of a timeout, but we are under 40 seconds away from that timeout running out. It's almost time to pick, Ziggy.
It's almost time to pick. Right now the draft has pretty much gone along form. The only surprise for me has really been Nerwinski. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if they needed to pick him that high in order to get him. DC's probably contemplating a trade right now, and that's why they're hesitating. But they've got a number of holes to fill, so I don't know which way they're going to pick.
From what I heard, DC really wanted to trade up to try to get Jonathan Lewis, and when that didn't happen, this pick, I don't want to say became superfluous, but they weren't married to anybody outside of Lewis in this draft.
They might like the other Lewis.
Yes.
Zico Lewis.
Agreed.
I think they are looking for a little bit of a winger type of help, and with Zico's exceptional pace, his ability to create stuff, that could be the pick.
All right, time for the timeout to end. The clocks have hit zeros, and here comes the commissioner.
We run a timely show here. With the 12th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, DC United select from the University of Maryland, College Park defender Chris Odui Acham.
Chris Odui Acham, and Sasha, this is your guy. Tell us all about him.
I love him. He's a great pick. He's gotten better every single year. He's got little DeAndre Yedlin to his game, but probably cares about defending a little bit more than DeAndre. He's improved his attacking game every time. The best 1v1 defender I've coached in 24 years.
Wow.
He was a high school basketball player at DeMatha High School. So imagine him defending point guards out of DeMatha in basketball. That ability is translated well to soccer.
It's quite an athlete right there. If you're the point guard at DeMatha, one of the strongest high school basketball programs, not just now, but of all time. And here he is, Chris Odui Acham, DC United.
Wow. First and foremost, I'd like to thank DC United for selecting me. My main goal right now will be just to make sure that they won't regret this decision at all, not even for a minute. I'd like to thank my mom and my parents, but my mom specifically, who flew in from Baltimore this morning to support me, as she supported me my whole life. So I just want to say I love you and I thank you. I want to say thank you to all my family and friends for supporting me, my teammates over the years for pushing me in practice every day to become a better soccer player. I'd like to thank my agent, Patrick McCabe, for being in a lot of people's ears the past couple of months. So thank you, Patrick. I'd like to thank a couple people, Brett Colton from Bethesda Soccer Club, for really grooming me into becoming a good soccer player, the DeMatha soccer family, my coach, Sasha Swarovski, and the whole University of Maryland staff for really supporting me and bringing me into a great program. And preparing me to become a professional soccer player. So I couldn't thank them enough. And I just like to thank Prince George's County as well. Thank you.
Little PG County love from Chris Adui-Atcham coming out of the Baltimore area and also University of Maryland as well. And Susanna Collins, by the way, that was the first pick for DC United. Columbus Crew have already had 2 selections, and Susanna's got the head coach of the Crew, Greg Berhalter.
Thank you, Russ. Greg, 5th and 9th pick. You got a center back, you got an attacker. How are you feeling about how today went?
Feeling good. Mission accomplished. We have 2 players that we feel have bright futures.
Now, when you look at the season that you guys had, I know it was a bit of a disappointment, especially coming from, Cup final. How do you think these 2 guys can contribute right away?
Well, I think these are 2 guys that we can envision getting on the field this year. They're going to compete for spots. With Lalas, he's a very competitive guy. He's a lot of resiliency, very physically strong. We expect him to help out in the back line. And then with Nico, he's shown in this combine and throughout his college career that he can make plays and be a very dangerous attacker. So we're hoping for the best.
We're always hoping for the best. Today has been, it's chaos out there, but, it's hard to kind of describe it to the people watching. Did things kind of go as planned for you guys today? I mean, how much sort of conversations and wheeling and dealing goes on?
I think at the 5th spot you have you have a list of guys, and you're hoping that your guy you'll be able to get. And what I'd say is in both of the picks, the guys that we thought would be around were around.
Excellent. Well, we can't wait to watch you next year. Best of luck. Thank you so much, Greg. Russ, back to you.
All right, Columbus Crew all the way to MLS Cup final in 2015. Struggled in 2016. How much pressure is on Greg Berhalter and the Crew to turn things back around in 2017?
There's always pressure. I don't think he's under a ton. I think he has the full faith and confidence of the ownership group. And look, this Crew team from last year, they were better than their record indicated. I think they're in store for a big bounce back season. I think they got at least one guy from this draft who can help them. I want to go back to Adui-Atcham for a second. I look at that DC United roster. I count 1, 2, 3, 4 right backs. 4 right backs. Something is going to happen with one of those guys. There will be a trade from DC United, not necessarily by the end of the day, but pretty soon.
Well, Sean Franklin's been the right back there, but they're looking to maybe play him inside this as a center back. So they're, Nick DeLeon played right back towards the end of the year. I know they like him a lot. But Nick, well, we all know, can play further up the field as well, and also played in the middle of the park. So Chris Adui-Atcham, I think, is a great local pick for them, but he's a great player. I expect big things from Chris Adui-Atcham. I think this is a young man that can one day wear the red, white, and blue as well.
Oh, wow.
He's a special player.
And sometimes what happens is you go into it, it's like us with DeAndre Yedlin. We had a Swedish international right back. DeAndre came in preseason. After 3-4 weeks, we said, wait a second, we can get rid of this guy, because he can do the job. So sometimes you find that out in preseason. Right now, I think they're looking at more of him as a 2-year type of guy. But he's definitely somebody who can play.
All right, next up is the 13th pick.
With the 13th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Real Salt Lake select from the University of Denver defender Reagan Dunk. And Reagan was unable to be here today.
Sporting Kansas City are now on the clock.
So Reagan Dunk, a defender from the University of Denver. He's got a great name. What's his game like?
He is an overlapping right back who played for one of the most successful teams in the country the last couple of years. He's not the athlete that Adui-Atcham or Nerwinski is, but he's very skillful. I think he sees the field well. You can see there he's crafty on the ball. I am a little surprised by this. They still have Tony Beltran at right back. They just re-signed Chris Wingert. They have the kid Herrera from New Mexico, who's a homegrown potential signing as well. But if they see Reagan Dunk as an asset, you have to take him here and just sort of go with the best talent available, I think.
Yeah, it's a little bit best talent available. I mean, I was surprised. I thought they would look more in the center back area. I thought because Weibel had coached, Justin Schmidt when he was at UW, I thought maybe that would be somebody he would pick. It would give them a center back who's a little more comfortable with the ball at his feet. Dunk is more of an athlete. Beltran is not somebody who can convert into the middle. Mm-hmm. Maybe they think Dunk can play in the middle. Maybe they see Beltran doing a of Philip Lahm and pushing into midfield because he's a pretty well-rounded player. But a little bit surprising pick, but he is a good athlete. Sometimes you got to take best athlete.
Did you guys play against him?
No, I spoke to Jamie Franks at length yesterday, his Denver coach, and felt like he was one of the key guys why they've been so successful. He improved every single year, and as a wing back, he was a big part of their attack. And I agree with Siggy. I had them looking at Justin Schmidt with the connection to Washington ties. I think they do need some help at center back. So a bit of a surprise, but another one that really improved his stock at the combine, I thought.
Real Salt Lake, one of those teams in transition. Jeff Cassar coming back for another season. Javi Morales out. Joao Plata has been a guy who's now been the focal point of that offense, but they're starting to bring guys in like, Albert Rusnak coming in as a young DP, maybe to fill the center of the midfield?
Yeah, I mean, they even gave him Javier Morales' number, so I think that one's done and dusted. There are obviously still big questions about Landon Donovan. They've tried very hard to get him. It looks like it's probably not going to happen. There are rumors also about Brooks Lennon, a former RSL homegrown who's been playing with Liverpool the last couple of years. They might be able to get him back, but it's still a roster under construction. It's still a roster kind of in limbo between two generations.
Rusnak's the key, though. He's the guy. Is he going to be the guy that can carry the load, that they can build a game around? Beckerman's getting older in the deep part of midfield. Can Sunday, their player in midfield, Nigerian, push a little bit more this year and take over a little more of that defensive spot as well? But it's really reconstructing their midfield is the biggest challenge for them as they move forward.
Yeah, and it's ironic in a way that the next team on the clock is Sporting Kansas City. These are two teams between RSL and SKC that have gone head-to-head for years in Major League Soccer. It's time to get the number 14
With
pick.
the 14th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Sporting Kansas City select from the University of Carolina, Chapel Hill, defender Colton Storm.
The Colorado Rapids are now on the clock.
Well, we go from Reagan Dunk to Colton Storm.
Good names.
Very good names here in the draft. What kind of player is Colton
He's
Storm?
a right back. He can really only play right back. But if you talk to people involved with UNC, they say he's a coach on the field. Again, he's not quite the athlete that Nerwinski and Aduiachim are, but he understands the game really well. High character kid by all accounts, but also the third right back on that roster now.
All right, he's at the podium. Let's hear from Colton Storm.
I just want to thank Sporting Kansas City for giving me this opportunity. I can't wait to get out there. I'm already ready. I want to start off first by thanking my mom and dad, bringing me up the whole entire time, my brother who's sitting in the crowd right now, my uncle, everyone who's helped me along this way. Thank you, Carlos Samuano, Grant Porter, and Jeff Nagalia of UNC. Best 4 years of my life and best decision I've made. And thank you, Gino DeFlorio. Brought me up in club, did everything I could and made me a better player and better person than who I am today. And thank you, Kevin Weinriss and First Wave. And good luck to everyone else.
Colton Storm, the Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania native, spent a little time with the Philadelphia Union Academy, also with the Portland Timbers U23 and Reading United. So he's seen some time at the higher levels. How does he slot in at this level with this team?
Well, you mentioned Philly and Portland U23. I think Slope Park Rangers is his next stop on his career. We're at the point in the draft now, if you want to get an idea for who's going to be picked, you look at the depth chart for the team's USL affiliates. And this is such a huge advancement for U.S. and Canadian soccer because a guy like this doesn't have to come in and succeed right away. You can blood him for a couple of years at a higher level than college soccer, let him play against grown men, and maybe he develops into something.
But it's also a very, for me, typical pick from Peter Vermes. Peter is really always looks for athletes. And so, like you're saying, they're talking about moving Graham Susie back to right back. They're talking, obviously they have the big kid whose name escapes me right now from
Abdul Salam.
Abdul Salam.
Igor Juliao,
who is an athletic
signed,
kid who can play there. So it probably is a situation where he can develop, or does Peter think maybe he can move up a line and he can play as that right winger? Because he was definitely not comfortable on the left side of the field.
No, he
played
wasn't.
there. But maybe he moves up a line. But this is, as you said, where the second teams become a really big help to the first team.
All right, next team up, Colorado Rapids. At this time last year, nobody outside of Colorado gave the Rapids much of a chance to do anything in 2016. And now we're talking about a team that went all the way to the conference championship, ended up falling to Seattle, were amazing at home all year. A lot of that had to do with Jermaine Jones. When he was on the field, they were very tough to beat. But this is a team that now has different expectations heading into 2017. Jermaine Jones won't be there, and part of that fallout is they get this pick.
Right.
They got it from LA Galaxy, and that has to do with Jermaine Jones having he goes to the rights to LA. Here's Colorado's pick at 17.
With the 15th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the Colorado Rapids select from the University of Denver midfielder Sam Hamilton. And Sam was unable to be here today.
So they go local. And Denver goes back-to-back. University of Denver goes back-to-back with players selected.
2 out of 3.
Excuse me, 2 out of 3.
This is a case of a team scouting in their backyard and appropriately giving that much more weight than his combine performance. I thought Hamilton was very, very poor, but obviously Denver was very, very good the last couple of years. He fills a need for them because he's a deep-lying midfielder, and they really only have 2, maybe 3 guys in that spot. He comes in and he adds to the depth chart for this team.
Yeah, I think talking to Jamie Franks, he felt Sam Hamilton is a player that's still on an upward trajectory, that every year he's gotten better. When he recruited him, it was a freezing night. He was out looking at some kids, and some kid with a bag of balls in freezing weather was out there trying to get better. And that's the kind of attitude this young man has. He's gotten better and better. I think Colorado knows him better than everybody else, and maybe a lackluster combine performance didn't affect that. He might be a year or 2 away before he fights for the first team spots, but I think it's a good pick, because I love players like that have that fiber, that character. They're going to get better. They're going to come into a situation. I think that's what they see with Sam Hamilton.
All right, the next club on the clock are the defending MLS Cup champion Seattle Sounders. Before we get to that, our hashtag is SuperDraft, and Brooks asks, do you see Seattle adding backline depth with their draft picks, or moving them for general allocation money or other assets? Look at Siggy. You think Seattle goes for backline depth here?
They're either going to go for backline depth or they're going to go for help on the wings. They need to get some wingers who are explosive, especially if they want to stay in the 4-2-3-1. They need somebody who can break people down on the flanks. Maybe it becomes Ezekiel Lewis, maybe it becomes a Chikari Hayes, who we haven't really talked about a lot. If they stay with backline help, maybe it becomes an Aubrey, maybe it becomes Justin Schmidt, which is a little bit just like Colorado's pick. Did you do your homework in your backyard? And that homework now pays off because the combine becomes less important than the homework you've done on the player.
Yeah, the guys that Ziggy's talking about, almost all of them are really well known. They will have been scouted, especially Brandon Aubrey, who is sliding after a poor showing at the combine. A guy who is not well known, who I think could maybe be in the mix here, is Adonijah Reed from Canada, the youngest player in this draft. He is a Canadian GA. He led League One Ontario in scoring as a 16-year-old.
Golden Boot.
Yeah, it's unclear how much value that is. Is it like scoring a lot of goals in Division II soccer? Nobody's sure how it translates, but he didn't look overwhelmed by the speed of play or the physicality of play at the combine. He has good vision around the area, maybe more of an inverted winger than a guy who's going to get wide and tear down the field, but a useful player, I think.
Something we haven't talked about yet here during the draft is that for the first time ever, you have Generation Adidas players coming out of Canada and other players who won't count as internationals on roster spots either north or south of the border, which is a big deal. For Canadian soccer and for MLS.
It's a very big deal for Canadian fans who've been tweeting at me for a decade about this. Reed, Shamit Shome is the other Canadian GA, and then the 3 Canadian kids who will not count as domestics are Wright, forward from Vermont, Kwame Awua, left back from Connecticut, and Nanko, the winger/forward from Syracuse.
I love the new program, by the way, MLS put in with the Generation Adidas Canada. I grew up in Canada, so I'm very, very happy to see more opportunities for Canadian players. I think Shamit Shome and Reed are still probably more known by their Canadian teams. I would expect TFC or Vancouver to be the primary teams to look at selecting them, although I do agree with you. Reed did show a little bit of spice with his movement and certainly a big upside. But I think it's a great program that they've put in place.
All right, the clock has wound to 0 for the Seattle Sounders. We are waiting their first pick here in the 2017 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas. And here's maybe a little bit look of what Seattle's looking at going into this season, and some big losses for the Sounders. A lot of retooling here when they're trying to repeat. And Garth Lagerwey has his work cut out for him a little bit.
He does, but he has a lot of assets now because you get the GAM infusion after winning MLS Cup, and they have some cap space. To me, I really think don't overthink this. Get Brandon Aubrey. You only have 3 central defenders on the list. Get Aubrey, and if he's not ready, there's not a ton of opportunity cost at 16.
What do you think, Siggy? What is their biggest? You know this team better than anyone sitting up here and anyone else in the room, really. So what does this team need for next
maybe
season?
if I've been more impressed with Aubrey at the combine, I didn't see him as much, but I know Kurt Schmidt saw him a lot, so he's the best one to make a judgment. But I really think wing play is something that they need more because over the years. The losses that have been suffered in that position. There was a big, bright future for Olex Anderson. He did his ACL last practice of the season. So there's a winger that gets lost now again for a year. So they need some guys who can break down people on the flanks. And to me, looking at outside, that's their greatest need.
All right, the pick is in. So momentarily, the commissioner will step to the podium. The Seattle Sounders have the 16th pick here in the first round of the draft.
Okay, we have a trade to announce involving the Seattle Sounders and NYCFC. The Seattle Sounders have traded the 16th overall SuperDraft pick to NYFC in return for $75,000 of general allocation money. And with the 16th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, NYCFC select from the University of Connecticut defender Kwame Aua.
The New York Red Bulls are now on the clock.
So NYCFC has been busy making trades, and Kwame Ua from UConn. What do you know about him?
Well, he played his first 2 years at left back, and I thought was very, very good. Then, because he has vision, he has some touch. They actually used him as a number 10 the last 2 years. Then they pushed him back to left back at the combine, and he was excellent once again. He will get forward. He serves in a wonderful cross. I have questions about his defense. But another UConn guy off the board, so I'm sitting up here pretty happy. It's not going to be all UCLA and Maryland today, guys.
All right, let's listen to Kwame Ua from UConn.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank God. Without him and my faith in him, I wouldn't be here right now. I want to thank my family back home who didn't have the opportunity to come here and watch this spectacular event and watch me accomplish my dreams and my goals. And next, I want to thank New York City FC for believing in me. I've always been a fan of their team and the way they play, and I've watched a couple of games. And I'd like to thank my teammates back home, Sigma FC, some of the guys, some of the coaches are here, Bobby Simeonidis, John Servos, Coach Phil, Coach Dave. They helped me groom myself to become the person and the player I am today. I would like to thank everyone at University of Connecticut for making it a special moment, special experience. And without them, without the coaching staff, Coach Reed, Coach Miller, Coach Dealey, Coach Tim O'Donohue, Coach Donlin, Coach Andy, and Coach West, I wouldn't be able to accomplish this goal. So I want to thank everyone. I hope everyone has a good rest of the day, and I want to thank the MLS for hosting this event. Thank you.
All right, let's take a look at Kwame Ua from UConn. Does that count as a local draft pick for NYCFC? Stores on the other side of the state.
UConn is the 6th borough. Look, he's going to get forward like Ronald Monterita. I think the more interesting thing is what this says about NYCFC's mindset, because they just gave up $325,000 worth of general allocation money for Jonathan Lewis and Kwame Ua. What I've heard all winter long is Patrick Vieira wants to build with youth. He wants to build with domestic players. He's got 2 domestic players to work with now. I think I would take heart from this if I was an NYCFC fan.
I would say welcome MLS to international soccer, because what we've had is, for $250,000 they bought Jonathan Lewis.
Yep.
For $75,000 they have Aua. I think they're both good picks for them.
But, this is what happens, it happens around the world. But Patrick Vieira is dedicated to young players. They've both got quickness, they've got speed, they're technically very sound, and the way he wants to play, his style of play, build up out of the back, those guys are important. Those are important qualities.
All right, Kwame Wab from UConn going to NYCFC. One of the New York City FC certainly has been very busy here in the first round. Another team that's been making moves, the Chicago Fire. Their general manager, Nelson Rodriguez, is with Susanna Collins.
All right, Nelson, you had the 3rd pick. You trade it for the 11th pick. You get Daniel Johnson. Why was he the right fit for the Chicago Fire?
Well, we have followed Daniel over the last 2 years. We think he has some qualities that will be unique for our team. He's slippery, very good inside and outside, and he's a soccer junkie. We were really taken with his love for the game. We like to have players in our locker room that want a soccer lifestyle, and TJ fits that.
Let's talk about some of the offseason moves. You guys are bolstering that midfield. You signed Nikolic, some Schweinsteiger rumors. What can you say about the way that you guys are kind of approaching this offseason, and can you offer any more insight on future plans?
Sure. Well, first, with Nemanja Nikolic, we think we've acquired a premium goal scorer. Importantly, we have found someone who wants to be a voice on the field and in the locker room. He is a champion, and he intends to continue winning and scoring goals. He has a voracious appetite to score. He was very well versed in the league. He knew the top scorers. He knew what their goal totals were, so he's very motivated. Juninho has also been a great acquisition for us. He's a much more mature player than when he first entered the league, but again, another champion, a 3-time MLS Cup winner, someone who wants to impart his wisdom on the younger players. So we think we've improved on the front line, in the midfield, and with our leadership.
Great stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys?
All right, Susanna, thank you so very much. And here comes the number 17 pick. The commissioner has returned to the podium.
With this 17th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the New York Red Bulls select from Boston College midfielder Zico Lewis.
Zico Lewis, a player we've talked about prior to this point, but here he is selected by the New York Red Bulls. How does he fit into the Red Bulls organization?
I think he's a very good wing player, and he's an inverted winger. He's a left-footed guy, likes to play on the right side. I could see him being very, very effective in New York's up-tempo possession style of soccer. He's got exceptional counter-attacking pace and a gifted left foot. I knew him when we were in the ACC for a couple of years, and he was a handful, and he's already been a full international already. So this is a seasoned college player.
He's a Bermudan international. The Bermudan Blur is at the podium.
First off, I'd like to thank New York Red Bulls for drafting me. I'm glad they have faith in me. At least somebody at this draft does. So I encourage everybody else to keep their head up. There's a lot of people I'd like to thank. A lot of people back home and even at schools in America who's probably was more nervous about this draft than I was. I'm just nervous about giving a speech. But I'd like to thank my family and friends back home, my AL family, all the way through my college career. My agent, Nico, who's been there since probably my freshman year, and Patrick as well. My Boston College family, and as well as my Berkshire family, who's also helped me through the process and got me as far as I have this time. In particular, though, there's 3 people in particular that's got me as far as I've been in my whole life, and that would be my mom and my dad. They brought me into this world, and they've threatened many times to take me out of it, so I'm glad they kept me in it. And then my little sister, of course, she's definitely been somebody I've always had to try to impress. So I'm just glad she's in my life, and just want to thank everybody who's got me here. Being selected this late isn't the end of the world. It just makes me have to show everybody that I'm gonna prove you guys wrong for drafting me this late. So thank you, Red Bulls.
Zico Lewis, there's his head coach, Jesse Marsh, for the New York Red Bulls, a high school teammate of Jack.
Is he happy or sad?
I think he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, okay.
Personality and confidence. Nothing wrong with
I
that.
love it. Love it.
Look, some good BC tradition in Major League Soccer. The likes of Charlie Davies, Alejandro Bedoya, Kyle Becker. Talking about some some guys coming out of there. Can Zico uphold that? He's only 5'6". He's a small guy. That's why they call him the Bermuda Blur, because he's quick.
I think he can because, and he showed it in his speech. He's definitely confident, and there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. You know, it means you're going to come in there and you're going to go after it. And I, as a coach, I'm sure Shasha was like that. We always like players like that as well.
Absolutely. Zico Lewis picked at
With
number 17.
the 18th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, FC Dallas select from Wake Forest University midfielder Jacori Hayes.
The Montreal Impact are now on the clock.
Jacori Hayes from Wake Forest, taken by FC Dallas with the 18th pick in the draft.
Yeah, I think it's a great fit for Oscar Pereira's style. He'll appreciate Jacori Hayes' skill. Jacori's a true number 8, box-to-box type of player. A great connector, great feet, does a lot of the little things. Again, a highly intellectual, disciplined player, things that maybe get unnoticed, but always add value to your team. Like we're seeing here, he can defend, he can unbalance you with a run, with a pass. He's one of the reasons why Wake Forest is one of the top programs the last couple of years.
They went to Barcelona in the preseason. Who would you compare his game? Oh, let's hear from him first, Jacori.
Start off, I have to thank God. Without him, none of this is even possible. Gotta thank FC Dallas for taking the chance on me and selecting me. I'll give everything I have to this club. I have to thank my mother, my father, and my family. My mom and my sister flew out yesterday. My cousins over there, Nikki and Justin. I love you guys. You guys are giving me all the support. It's been amazing. Love you. Gotta thank the clubs that I've played with growing up, instilling in me the skills, mentality. I'm forever grateful. And I gotta thank my coach, Bobby Muse at Wake Forest University, for the last 4 years. It's been amazing, and you guys have taught me everything I need to know to be ready for the professional world. And lastly, I want to thank Mike Sinkowski and Eddie Pope and Octagon for believing in me and always supporting me throughout this whole process. Wouldn't want anyone else on my side. So thank you very much, and good luck to everyone else.
And a second DeMatha high school player goes here in the draft, and Wake Forest went to Barcelona to train. Whose game would you compare his to, Sasha?
Yeah, it's hard to compare, with any Barcelona players, but I would say he's a little bit of a Xavi. He's the connector. He's the guy that's gonna, maybe he's not gonna score the final goal, but he's gonna get the ball from here to there every single time, be in the right place every single time. And I think there's a little bit of that to him on a.
What position, though, ultimately, do you think is his best position?
I think he's an 8.
You think
he's not really a 6, and he's not a 10. I think he's an 8. I think he might develop into a 6, but I think at the next level he's an 8 right now.
I think it's a good pick because he's a kid who didn't show well at the combine, so he dropped down. It's definitely a pick where you've had to have done your homework. If you saw him play during his career at Wake, you realize what he can do, why he didn't have a bad combine. Hard to say, playing in different positions. But he is a box-to-box guy, and he fits in Oscar's style. Right. Can he possibly play wide on occasion? Possibly.
And look, if you are making your pick off of the combine, you are doing yourself and your club a disservice.
Agreed.
And that's why, and that's changed over the years, but certainly at the beginning, just from a matter of numbers, you didn't have enough people. But the front offices now have enough people and enough resources to make sure that there's a dedicated person and or group of people that are following and tracking this. And when you get to the combine, it shouldn't completely change or distort your view of a player. If you believe in the people that you put in place to lead you, then you have to believe in the picks that are based on a much greater sample size than just 3 games on a week in Los Angeles.
Fair enough, but the combine still has value for
Sure,
recency, and also it's human nature.
And it does still change people's minds. I mean, I can't tell you who, but I know it changed a couple people's minds on this list so far, where they made moves that going into the combine they would not have made, but the player stock fell for them, and so it does still influence people, unfortunately.
All right.
It shouldn't.
It's almost time for the next pick, 19th overall. That goes to Montreal Impact, and here comes the commissioner.
With the 19th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the Montreal Impact select from the University of California, Santa Barbara, forward Nick DePuy.
Nick DePuy from UCSB. Just up the road here from LA. What do we know about Nick DePuy?
I mean, Nick's, is he a forward? Is he a defender? I think is always my question. He's played a little bit of both at Santa Barbara. He had some good success up front. He's a good header of the ball. Is he good enough with his back to goal? Does he have good enough feet? I think are a big question. He could be a defender, though.
Let's hear from him.
Wow, this is great. First of all, I just want to thank Montreal Impact for selecting me and believing in me. It's a huge honor, and I'm going to make you guys proud. I want to say thank you to all my club coaches for developing me as a youth player. I want to thank UC Santa Barbara and a great 4 years over there. All the coaches over there and all my teammates really helped and make me a successful player. I want to thank my trainers as well and providing me help in succeeding in the next level. I want to thank my family, my two parents who are sitting right over there, for their love and support. I couldn't do it without you guys. I want to thank Sean Higgins for all of his support as well. I couldn't do it without you. I'd like to thank my two sisters who are not here right now, but I'm sure they're watching somewhere, and my girlfriend as well, who is probably watching this on TV. But thanks again to the Impact, and I'm ready to get started.
Zig, you mentioned the ability for this player to play in both attack and defense. Ultimately, when you're drafting somebody, do you know ahead of time that you're going to make that change? I mean, I think back to a Chris Albright or other people in your career that you've done it. Do you know it ahead of time, or does it become apparent when you finally get him in with the group?
You generally know ahead of time. Obviously, we didn't know with Eric Zavaleta when I drafted him, and there was big discussion within our group. We decided to go one way. My instinct was that he was a defender, which is where he ended up at the end of the day. So if I had to do that one over, I trust my instinct. But you know ahead of time where you want him to play. So maybe Montreal sees him as a forward. Great. That's where they got to give him the opportunity. Maybe he's a defender.
But DePuy came into school as a defender, and then they found themselves needing someone to score goals from injury and also lack of performance. He comes in and starts scoring immediately. So they just kept him there.
Yeah, and I think Nick needs to decide what he wants to excel at as well. I think he's got to figure out, hey, am I going to be a striker or am I going to be a defender? And I think, he had to fill in some roles for Santa Barbara and was very good at both those places. I've only seen him play as a striker, and I quite like him as a striker. I think he's quite mobile for a 6'5" guy. He's good in the air. I see him as an Alan Gordon type of player that can maybe come in and change a game, but he does have to refine his skills and polish his receiving skills, his ability to combine with players, and his finishing's got to get better. But I still see him as a striker. Now, if he doesn't see himself long-term as a striker, then he better make a decision to fight for a center back position right away.
Where does Marbiello need him more? That might be the biggest question of all. Where does Montreal need a player, or do they need him at this point?
Generally Montreal at this point is probably going to spend money, for a forward. So the need might be greater in the back. Okay. So if I'm a young man, I can do both. I might say I'll go in the back.
Yep. There you go. All right. So the next team up.
Who's up? What do we got?
We got New England Revolution.
Oh, Brian Wright. Brian Wright from Vermont, I'll bet.
With the 20th pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the New England Revolution select from the University of Vermont, forward Brian Wright.
Alexi, how did you know?
It's like Kreskin. I mean, it's just...
That's an old man reference, by the way. Brian Wright from the University of Vermont, maybe the greatest player in UVM history.
Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're giving him?
He's another Canadian that just kind of flourished. Every year seemed to get a little bit better. He's got a little bit of Brian White back from the Yukon days. He's strong. He scores a lot of goals. America East was a very good conference this year, and he seemed to score goals for fun this year. So,
first off, I'd like to thank God for giving me all the blessings that I've received in my life so far. Definitely want to thank my parents for sacrificing so much through all my life and with everything in soccer. Want to thank all my coaches through the years.
my club coach, Tom Croft, who's here as well, and one of my coaches, Rob Dow from the University of Vermont, pushing me all those 4 years and whatnot. Also want to thank everyone back at UVM, my friends, teammates, and all the faculty on and off the field that have helped me to get to where I am and helped groom me as a young man. Also want to thank the Revs for giving me this opportunity and thank the MLS. Thank you.
Brian Wright is the second player ever selected in the first round of a major U.S. sports draft out of the University of Vermont. The first came in the very first NBA draft in 1947 by the Baltimore Bullets, Larry Killick. They've had guys like John LeClaire from the NHL, but never first rounders except this young man right here and Larry Killick in 1947. So greatest player in UVM history? Perhaps. There's the argument. Let's go back to the back. Susanna Collins has New York Red Bulls head coach Jesse Marsh.
Thank you, Russ. All right, Jesse, let's talk about your pick, Zico. I just talked to this young man. He's got some fire in his belly. He's got something to prove. What did you like about him?
Well, clearly he has personality, which you're always looking for young guys that aren't afraid and are up for a big challenge. But, you know, when you look at his overall athleticism, along with his soccer package, his ability to run, his ability to close things down, it now naturally fits into the style that we play. I think, you know, he mentioned about being dropped in the draft a bit, and the fact that he was a foreigner, I think meant that he was available for us. So we're really excited. We ranked him in the top 10 in the draft, and to get him at 17, we feel very fortunate.
Now, I know you're going to hate this question, but this week has been eventful. It was kind of like, where's Waldo? Where's Jesse Marsh? I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of address that. Is your heart in New York?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, you know, all the reports that get thrown around to me are unfounded, and I'm unsure, you know, where everything's coming from. We're lucky at Red Bull to have other clubs in Europe and to share resources and to now, frankly, learn from them. So that's where I've spent a lot of this time this offseason, and I guess I understand why the rumors start. But I'm here in New York. I love this club. I love this team, and I'm here.
That's good news for New York. Jesse, thank you so much. Russ, back to you.
A definitive Jesse Marsh has been the talk of the Combine and the lobby of the JW Marriott here in LA in his absence, but here he is.
Well, it looks like fake news has hit MLS now. It looks like it's everywhere.
We got to have rumors. It's a good thing.
Questions still remain about the Red Bulls, though, and what's going on here.
There's some stuff going on, believe me, at the Red Bulls right now, and we'll figure it out. It will come out.
All right, here we go. Toronto FC has their pick in at number 21.
With the 21st pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Toronto FC select from the University of Notre Dame defender Brandon Aubrey.
So Brandon Aubrey may be the deepest drop of the first round from his projected selection, and here he is from the University of Notre Dame, taken by Toronto FC. What kind of player is Brandon Aubrey?
I'm a big fan of Brandon Aubrey. We played against him a number of times. I think his body of work at Notre Dame is much better than a couple of days at a combine. He's terrific in the air. Scored, I think, 11 goals this year for Notre Dame as a center back. He can win games for you on both sides there. I think what we saw this week was maybe not a great partnership at the back, and we saw some flaws defensively. But
so first off, I want to thank Toronto FC for taking a chance on me and drafting me. I'll make you guys proud. Then I want to thank the University of Notre Dame, Bobby Clark, and the rest of the coaching staff there, and all of my teammates for giving me a wonderful 4 years and molding me into the man on and off the field I am today. I want to thank the Dallas Texans as well, my youth club. There's a bunch of coaches there that I won't go into all their names, but they really did a great job of teaching me everything they know and making me into the player I am today. And save the best for last, my family, my mom and dad who are there, always proud and always supportive, even though they don't know anything about soccer. I love them. And my fiance, Jen, you're beautiful and I love you. And last but not least, my brother. He's always my role model. Without him, I know I wouldn't be here, and I have no idea where I would be. Definitely not playing soccer. So thank you guys.
As Brandon Aubrey steps up the girlfriend game to fiance. He just set the line.
Man, oh man. We always track how these players end up from a soccer perspective. We never track how their relationships in terms of all their shout-outs during their draft.
Maybe we should. That's something that we should look at. But Toronto
The other thing with Toronto is if any organization should be able to smell a defender and find a defender with a staff of Greg Vanney and Dan Kalishman and Robin Frazier, 3 defenders, they should be the ones that can that can figure out that
well,
position.
If you look at their defenders last year, you had Nick Hagglund, Eric Zavaleta, and you Drew Moore. You got all college-based guys, and both Hagglund and Zavaleta took some time to sort of find their way. But hey, this was a group that took them to the MLS Cup final, and within a penalty kick of being champions. So I think they've done their work on Brandon Aubrey. I think he'll fit in quite well there.
Yeah, and it's so funny with Toronto. You think of the big names, right? The Giovincos and the Josies and the Michael Bradleys. Their entire back 5 are all drafted players from last year, and then you include Michael Bradley in that group as well. 3 of those guys playing, with the team they're in. So, look, Toronto's a team that has built through the draft before. Brandon Aubrey is a guy who will be given a chance to continue that tradition.
But he's also like a lot of center backs that get to this level where you've seen them play in one system in one situation where they're very good, and obviously being in a comfortable situation for a center back makes them that much better. And so the question always is, all right, when they're getting in a new system, when they're facing players that are that much more athletic, in this case, can he deal with the one-on-one? Can he deal in isolation? All that stuff. Ultimately, you're not going to know until you throw him into that situation. But those are always going to be questions when it comes to all players, including center backs, taking them out of that comfortable position that they've been in.
Well, you look at Matt Beasler. He was a late draft pick when he came out. He was, a system guy. It took a little while for him to find his niche at Sporting Kansas City. But, Bobby Clark players have become very tactically adept, and they also have high character. And I suspect that Brandon Aubrey's going to find his way, and I think he'll be in the first 11 at some point for TFC.
One of the individual highlights of his soccer career was a free kick that he scored in double overtime in a win against Stanford. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he won't take a free kick for Toronto FC.
I don't think so either with Giovinco. The big question with him, though, too, is Bobby Clark, who I think is a great coach, is one of the best at teaching how to play in a back 4. Toronto last year shifted to a back 3. Ooh. How's he going to do in a back 3 versus a back 4? That's going to be a little bit of an adjustment for him.
All right, it's just about time to wrap up the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft. The final pick of the first round, 22nd overall, is going to go to the defending MLS Cup champions, the Seattle Sounders, unless they decide to move it. But
I'm looking at a Brian Nanasikum. That's what I'm looking at.
Brian who?
That's what I'm going
Stanford,
with.
yeah, right.
I know what you're saying. I don't know. I'm maybe looking at Justin Schmidt, the local kid, the Washington kid.
Yeah.
I still think they need help on the flank. Maybe they're thinking something else. I know a guy they were interested in that they thought they could get, even though they dropped. Is off the board now, so I think that changes their thoughts.
All right.
An interesting, no goalkeeper picked in the first round. We typically have had goalkeepers go early because we have some good goalkeepers, and I'm surprised there hasn't been a goalkeeper selected. Of course, Seattle's not going to take one with Stefan Frey there.
But that's second round, and they got a good backup in Tyler Miller.
Right.
Yep.
And a year ago, Tyler Miller, we took in the second round. Second round, I think you'll see 2 or 3 goalkeepers go.
All right, but maybe not in this pick. It's the 22nd pick, the final pick of the first round, and we are waiting the arrival of the commissioner at the podium. The clock has run out, and here comes the commissioner with the pick.
Well, this is the last pick of the first round, and after this round, there'll be a 5-minute break and plenty more to go, many, many more rounds. And I want to thank everybody for their patience, both the draftees and their family, and the LA Galaxy supporters and LAFC supporters. You guys are doing a great job, but you got to hang in there, all right? With the 22nd and final pick of the first round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the Seattle Sounders select from Stanford University defender Brian Nasikum. And unfortunately, Brian is not able to be here. 5-minute break, and then we start with the second round.
All right, Alexi, I'll let you have the first word on the guy you picked to be the selection of the Seattle Sounders.
I just got to say, that's why I'm no longer the coach of the Sounders. Obviously, I don't know anything. Go ahead.
No. Alexi has an intelligence network.
We all have intelligence networks. Believe me. Look, he's the second best center back, I think, behind Robinson when it comes to it. Great 1v1, great in the air. You talk about a player, and a lot of the players that come out great on the field, but I think also great on the field. Just a solid pick.
All right, the first round of the Super Draft 2017 is in the books. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, the commissioner, Don Garber, joins us on set.
It's about your club. It's about your city. It's about this season. It's about every match. And standing by your colors. Whatever they are, we've got you covered.
I never thought of myself as just a soccer player. I always defined myself as much bigger than that. And now I'm getting a chance to really explore some of those interests, but still be connected to the game that will always be really important to me. Soccer in my life has been an incredible way of meeting new people and making real friendships. Check it out. There are so many people that love the game. This is my opportunity to help them share their story.
The game you love in your hand. Breaking news when it happens. All the best match highlights. Real-time stats. And live scores. Hundreds of live match streams. Follow your favorite clubs. Anywhere, anytime. The newly designed MLS app. Download for free today.
And welcome back to the LA Convention Center. We are through one round of two here for the 2017 MLS SuperDraft presented by Adidas. You can join in on the conversation with the hashtag SuperDraft on Twitter and also Instagram. And look, we started off with a bang. Abud Danladi going first to Minnesota United, their first ever pick in Major League Soccer. After that, it was Atlanta's turn, and Mike Robinson was the selection there. New York City FC making some trades, and here's a look of the first round. And Alexi Lalas, just general thoughts on what you've seen so far through one round.
Not a lot of surprises, and I think that the players that people predicted were the quality and the cream are the ones that ultimately have gotten picked. But as we said, it's easy to talk about these players, but we're looking forward and seeing how they adapt, not just how they adapt on the field, but how they adapt off the field to being a professional day in and day out. But ultimately, there's going to be a whistle, and that new season is going to start. And we got somebody here that knows a little bit about that new season, right?
Yes, we do. We are back here at the Convention Center. Russ Thaler, Alexi Lalas, Ziggy Schmidt, and the Commissioner, Don Garber of Major League Soccer.
How you doing, guys? Happy New Year. Thanks for doing such a great job today.
Yeah, thanks for the pep talk at the end of the first round. You got to keep it up.
You know what? It's 2-hour first round. I mean, man, it just
well, you keep adding teams, Don. This is what happens.
This is what happens when you
stop expanding. We won't have to do this.
I got to tell you, when you look out there, it's like almost 1,000 people came through the doors, right? And you see, I'm stand up there. I get to see the look on the faces of those players, those kids, and their families. I mean, this is the biggest moment in their lives, and it's our league. This has become something that we should all be really proud of. It's a good event.
One of the things that seems to be happening with Major League Soccer in this offseason and in the recent past is we see the DPs, the designated players, becoming younger and younger. And we see the league changing in that way. Ultimately, how do you envision these teams are going to look on the field for Major League Soccer as far as experience and age and name value?
Well, I think you need all those things, right? So when Alexi was part of signing David Beckham, the goal was, we needed to have players that would attract attention, that would give us credibility in the global market. And ultimately, it was more about Alexi selling tickets than it was about sort of contributing on the field. Well, that's kind of become inverted. And now, it's great to have players that can attract attention and sell tickets and grow TV ratings, but higher quality soccer, we've learned from our fans who we've spoken to, that's what's going to allow them to engage more. And those who are not fans will start looking at us more because the quality of soccer being played is just better. And referentially, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, hopefully starting to beat Mexico in the Champions League with a higher quality club will allow us to do that. So I think you will see, Russ, a long answer, more names coming in. That's important. Every league does it, and we should too. But I do think you're going to start seeing more players like Ladero that Ziggy signed, who can show that this is that league of choice, that it is a place to come play, make a good living, attract some attention, and have fun at the same time.
Commissioner, it's not just the league of choice for foreign players that you want to have this happen. You also wanted to make a league of choice for the domestic players that we have here. Let's talk a little bit just about the business and the economics, because these are professional athletes that are looking to have a long career and to have success on the field, but also to make money. So when a young player comes out, if I was coming out right now, what would your pitch to me be in terms of the economic benefit, staying in Major League Soccer? Why is it going to pay me more ultimately? When whether that's payment is just money or a combination of things, how would you talk to a young player right now coming out?
Well, let's just start with money. You know, Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore make more money playing in Major League Soccer, as we all know, than they would make if they were not playing here.
But they went to Europe, so they had that as their resume. That's why they were paid.
And Clint Dempsey did as well. So I don't know that Jordan Morris, Ziggy probably would know more than I would, whether he will be in MLS forever, like Landon was. Or Alexi, you were gone, you came back and whatever. So I think ultimately every player's got to make the decision as to what is the best pathway for their career and their lives. Finances, money's an aspect of it. How you want to live, where you want to be. Do you want to be close to your family? Do you want to live in a place like Seattle or LA or New York? Or do you want to live in Shanghai? Right, all those things go into that equation. But I will say, as I look up there, when I'm shaking a kid's hand and the minimum that they're making is $90,000, $100,000, and the Generation Adidas guys are making way more than that, that's a lot of money for anybody. And so they're coming in, and the financial aspect really isn't the issue today as it was many years ago. The issue is, are they going to be able to play at Dortmund? And is that better for their career than playing for the New York Red Bulls?
And as we move forward as a league, obviously expanding the league and adding teams is something that's been an important component. It also expands our TV map, per se, which is very, very important. What kind of timeline do you see? Are we growing too fast? Or, do you want to see us grow faster, grow slower? But, how do you envision that growth as we go forward?
Well, we're incredibly thoughtful about it, and we're doing everything we can to get it right. We have a process. We try to space them out. We deal internally, as you know, with the proper allocation money to give existing teams and new teams the ability to be competitive. And we need to grow to create the momentum that we need to show that we are a league that is on the rise. So when you're talking to a parent, you could say, this is a league that you want to be a part of, and it will be bigger, better, and more valuable for you and for the country in the future than perhaps it is now. I do worry that at some point we don't look back and say we did it too fast. And that's something that we've got to be sure we're mindful of. And I believe our owners and I believe our staff are spending the right amount of time on strategy and on effective execution to be sure that we don't look back at some point and say that we didn't get it right.
Well, on this opening weekend coming up, God, it's like 2 months away now, less than 2 months away.
I know, I'm exhausted already.
We're going to get to see those teams, though. We'll get to see Minnesota and Atlanta. Portland, Minnesota is that first game on Friday night. What do you hope to see? Look, we've seen expansion teams struggle out of the gate in Major League Soccer. All except Seattle haven't made the postseason. What kind of expectations do you have for these new teams coming in?
It's an interesting question, Russ. You sit around our board table with owners that all but maybe 4 or 5 own teams in other leagues. And they say that when you come into the league, you really are going to struggle, and that's the way it ought to be, right? Because they have systems that almost ensure that to happen. In MLS, I'm not sure. I mean, listen, we're close, Ziggy, and I'm close to the ownership. They've made the playoffs every year, and they've won the championship. I think if you go about doing it right, you ought to be able to win. The challenge is when you come in, you don't have the experience, right? And the talent pool of executives and perhaps the owners that come in have not gone through the process of being able to have the experience perhaps than Joe Roth and Adrian and Ziggy as a coach have that capability. I'm really curious to see how Atlanta does. Atlanta's made a decision. We want to compete for the championship. Minnesota has the same aspiration, but they're going about it a different way. And I think that kind of dynamic is going to be interesting for all of us to look at. I will say, to kind of close the loop on this question, it's not good when teams don't do well, but not everybody could win. It is it's a zero-sum game. Every game you go to, somebody's losing, right? So you got to have losing teams if you're going to have winning teams. And hopefully we're strong enough to get past it.
I want to allow Lexi to ask another question, but I need to let everybody else out there know that the second round is actually underway. Minnesota United has taken a timeout, which has given us more time with the commissioners. So, Alexi, you're up.
Really quick, congratulations and most importantly, thank you from everybody, because we have seen a seminal moment here. We have actually seen the amount of the allocation that is being traded. This was the decision that you made, and we applaud it. We applaud it. Are we going to see, first off, that's going to continue through the year, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to anything else in terms of this transparency as you start to open up some things for people out there that are watching to see and be able to judge things better?
Well, I don't know how many people were watching or listening, or whether this shows up on social media, but I found out that the allocation money was going to be announced when Todd and Lino DiCulo, our player guys, came to me and said, hey, guess what, Commish? As part of it, we're announcing allocation money. So it's not something I'm focusing in on. I think we've got to do more. The struggle, inside baseball discussion is when we talk about it, our guys say, hey, we might be, the fan might want it, and the stovetop stuff might want it, but ultimately it hurts our clubs and their ability to be able to have information that will allow them to be more competitive or help them in their negotiations with Europe or their negotiations internally, maybe even the negotiation with the player. But I think you're going to see more and more. I think that it's going to be forced on those who want it to not happen. And today's a good example.
We'll take the baby
starting.
steps. We'll take the baby steps.
You mentioned Champions League. We don't have time to get to it, but you said earlier today in one of your talks that the schedule will be changing for Champions League and that Liga MX is in on it. So we all look forward very much to what that is going to turn out to be. Commissioner, thank you very much.
Thanks,
the second
guys.
round's underway. We're going to send you back to work. Minnesota United are on the clock, and they're looking to make a splash in their first season at MLS.
Willie will take it. Chris White chasing off the boards will score. Alan Willie from a deep angle, and the Strikers take a 1-0 lead.
We have put together a new mark.
Minnesota to Major League Soccer.
Make this location in our state really the epicenter of soccer.
Getting ready for the Loons in 2017. Minnesota United is on the clock, and the pick is just about in. Time to get you to the podium, where Todd Durbin will be calling the second round here in Major League Soccer.
With the first pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Minnesota United select from Wake Forest University, goalkeeper Alec Farrell.
So we have our first goalkeeper off the board.
Told you, second round.
Second round. It's the goalkeeper. Time for the keepers.
Time for the keepers.
Rock solid kid, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I think he absolutely has a chance to stick with this team because I don't think they have a keeper yet. But yeah, he's a guy who projects to me as a long-term player in MLS, not necessarily a starter, but a guy who can give you minutes here and there for the next decade.
So Alec Farrell, a going keeper here, and not exactly the keeper necessarily people thought would be the first keeper selected. Maybe something to do with combine performance?
No, I think everybody I talked to thought he was the best keeper. So,
at the combine or in college?
No, in college, because he wasn't there at the combine, so he didn't impact it. But everybody I talked to felt he was number one. They thought The other keepers were close, McGuire and the kid from Monmouth. What's his name again? You got it.
Klinowski.
Klinowski. He's much better at names than I am. So, I just like, hey, you.
Klinowski's the name that I started seeing a lot more as the top keeper, but here comes Alec Farrell off the board.
I mean, I think Ziggy's right that at the start of the year, most had Farrell as the number one. Klinowski kind of overtook him. But Klinowski had a shocker at the Combine. He really did, and I think it's coming back to bite him a little bit. That said, he does have the tools to be an MLS keeper, but he's going to have to sort of rebuild his own confidence wherever he ends up in preseason.
All right, so Minnesota's made their pick. Colorado's on the clock. And Jonathan wants to know who are the best players still in. Okay, best players still available in the draft, Matt.
Justin Schmidt, the center back from University of Washington. I think he'll go real soon. I think both of the Canadian GAs, Adonijah Reed and Shamit Shom, will probably go pretty soon. Francis DeVries, the New Zealand central defender, got a nice left foot. He doesn't look the part. He looks skinny, and he looks like he could be pushed around, and I think that that's being held against him a little bit. But to me, he was quicker than I expected. And then the other one is Napo Matsoso from Lesotho, University of Kentucky, working on his green card.
All right, the pick is in. This is number 24 overall. Second pick, second round, Colorado Rapids.
With the second pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Colorado Rapids select from Syracuse University, defender Liam Callahan.
Liam Callahan is the pick, a defender from Syracuse. What do we know about him?
Hard-nosed, got a motor that does not shut off, hates to lose. Real questions about whether he can handle the speed and quickness of this league. But hey, left back is a problem position in MLS in perpetuity. So if you see a guy who can kick a ball with his left foot and has done it in the ACC for a couple years, it's probably worth taking a flyer.
Why is it a problem? Why is left back such a problem in the U.S., Sig?
I don't know what it is. It's tough to find left-footed guys, I think, for one, but it's really a problem because whenever we have a left-footed player, we think of him to be as being more of a creative guy. And we seem to push him forward and put him more into those kind of situations. And, having a guy who can attack out of the left. Outside back is so much more of an important position in the modern game because the outside backs see the ball so much more. So having a left back who can be successful. I remember my years in Columbus, I was able to bring in an Argentinian left back, Padula, and he changed our entire team because he was able to find our key player with the ball. So if you can get a left back who can find that and hit those passes, but those are few and far between in the college side.
But the development of it, that goes back to the fundamentals and the grassroots in terms of having coaches that can make that position look sexy to a young player and say, hey, this can be something that you can get good at, and by the way, you can be incredibly valuable. And that's sometimes it's a hard sell for younger players.
It is, and look, it's another. It's like the shortstop thing in baseball or some of the center thing in hockey is that the best player is always going to be put at the position where you see most of the ball and as a youth player. And so every kid in U.S. and Canadian soccer grows up as either a center midfielder or a center forward. So nobody becomes a fullback until they're 17, 18, 19 years old. So the development curve's a little steeper and a little later.
But that's not necessarily the worst thing. And I'll use an example, a player you know really well, Greg Vanny. Greg Vanny came to me at UCLA as an attacking midfielder, didn't want to play left back. When he realized he wasn't going to get on the field because we had a guy named Joe Max Moore, he said, hey, left back doesn't sound so bad, and made himself a really nice career there. So it's not so bad that they're moving at 17, 18. Sometimes it takes too long for them to move. They're moving when they're 23, 24, and that's sometimes too late.
Maybe they're too good at that level, the college level, and then you get to the pro. There is a step up, and that's what happens. Look, the next pick is going to Minnesota United. It used to be Chicago Fire's pick. There was a deal made. Minnesota has now the third pick of the second round. They just took a goalkeeper in Alex Farrell, and new team in MLS building through the draft. Lots of picks, and here comes their second in 3 picks for Minnesota.
Well, we also heard the commissioner mention the different way that these expansion teams are kind of going out and building their team. And not just building their team, but the messages that they are. You had Atlanta, big, bold, arrogant, spending a lot of money, and in doing so, raising expectations. You got Minnesota being a little bit more, shall we say, small, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but certainly in comparison to Atlanta. And ultimately, as we said, that whistle will blow, and it will be interesting to see how that manifests itself on the field in terms of the ability of both of these teams, and off the field in terms of how those communities gravitate and embrace their teams.
Which one is more interesting to you?
Atlanta.
Yeah.
It was, and it still remains to be Atlanta. The only thing that's like, well, not the only thing interesting, but I think the best thing right now when it comes to Minnesota is the Loons, the actual brand.
Yeah,
I love it. I think it's wonderful. It's
I like Batman and
the best.
Robin. We just saw Ibarra and Ramirez, guys that are familiar to the fans with Minnesota. They'll have something to grasp onto immediately, something that from the past they can bring into the present and future.
Yeah, but will the past work for the future?
Hard to know.
Yep.
And that's going to be something to see for sure. Adrian Heath, guy who was the head coach of Orlando City at the start of 2016, is now the coach of Minnesota United FC. Has there anyone else has ever been the first coach of two different teams in the league?
I don't think anybody has, but it's a good thing for Minnesota because Adrian probably he's obviously been through this experience before, so he can take what he learned from that experience and apply it now, which should make, for a big help for Minnesota as they approach this season, because their approach is different than Atlanta. Atlanta went up and here we are, there's the fireworks, take a look at us, and Minnesota's going the other way.
And I get the feeling that man right there will have learned from both the mistakes and the differences that he experienced down in Orlando.
Yeah.
It probably just wasn't the fit, and certainly not the fit as those changes have continued to happen off the field, certainly in terms of how they're going about their business
Well, what
down in
you
Orlando.
learn from Orlando, don't let Kaká make you sign his friends.
Philadelphia is calling a 4-minute timeout.
You're not going to have that problem.
Matt Doyle, ladies and gentlemen.
You're not going to have David Mateos there on that contract number. So I think that is part of what appealed to Adrian Heath about taking the Minnesota job. There's not going to be any one player who maybe has more sway with the franchise than he should.
But every coach has to deal with cooks in the kitchen and people meddling, right,
Are you
Zig?
telling me that there are egos in sports?
I'm just saying, it's probably one of the most difficult things that a coach has to deal with, I would
exactly.
think.
You've got to deal with all that. You've got to be able to satisfy everybody. But on the same token, as a coach, you've got to stay true to your line and true to the direction that you want to take. And I think Adrian Heath likes the idea. I mean, every coach can get excited and say, hey, and you're going to spend $9 million to buy me a DP? Hey, that's fantastic. But, there's also a challenge and a certain joy in saying, hey, I can find players that maybe have been overlooked, maybe have been bypassed. I can make this guy a better player. There's some gems here and there that people haven't seen. And you bring those in, and there's a real satisfaction that you have as a coach in being able to do it that way. And so these franchises, as the commissioner said earlier, are really going about them in those different manners. One is blowing it up like that and making it big, and the other one is saying, hey, can we do it by putting guys who really want to play in Minnesota, who really want to play in our league, who they cut off their right arm to be here, versus guys that are here because we're giving them more money than somebody else.
It also takes away the chief excuse on the other side. If you do win, they say it's all because of the money. But you can't say that if you're saying I'm building this from nothing. Hey, we're in a timeout right now. It's the goodest time as any. We actually got a little bit of a treat yesterday. Former LA Galaxy head coach, current U.S. national team head coach, Bruce Arena's here with the January camp with the national team, and Susanna Collins caught up with him yesterday.
Bruce, your second stint as U.S. men's national team head coach, you got a couple training sessions in. What's it like being back? Is it kind of like riding a bike?
It is a little bit. It's a great honor, and obviously it's a different time, but it's very similar in some ways to my last 8 years with the national team, and I'm real pleased to be back.
What's different this time around? How have you evolved as a coach and just as a person?
Well, I think anybody from year to year, they grow, and hopefully in a positive way. And my experiences the last 10 years coaching in the league has been fantastic. I've gotten to coach some very prominent players. It's been a good experience for me. I've experienced having some successful teams, and I think all of that stuff carries over. So hopefully I'm better prepared this time around to lead the national team.
Well, you talk about some high-profile players, Michael Bradley being one of them. He spoke this week about the energy in camp right now and how excited he is to have the opportunity to play for you again. When you first got this group together, what was your message to the team?
Well, certainly I was going to give everyone an opportunity, but I thought it was important that we started immediately to develop the right kind of chemistry and be a team, because I felt at the end of 2016 and in the qualifying games, the U.S. team didn't look like the U.S. team in the past. And we want to build a team concept, having guys work together, be good teammates, and hopefully produce a good team.
Whitecaps winger Kekuta Manneh this week got his U.S. citizenship, so he is now one step closer to being eligible to play for the U.S. men's national team. That's something that he has spoken about, has aspired to. When you look at his skill set, the type of player that he is, what do you think he would bring to the squad?
Well, Kekuta's dominant quality is his pace. He can run past players with and without the ball, and I saw that as a coach of the Galaxy. It happened a couple of times. He's a threat. He can stretch teams out, and I think that kind of pace is something that our national team needs as well.
Let's talk a little World Cup qualifying. You've brought the U.S. to 2 World Cups. You're going for your 3rd, not in an ideal position right now, some tough losses to Mexico and Costa Rica, but a chance to kind of turn it all around in March. You've got games against Panama, Honduras. In camp right now, what are you looking to kind of figure out to help you in those games?
Well, really, it's important that I evaluate this pool of players, and we want to win the 2 games of playing in January and the beginning of February, and just set the right tone and give us a little bit of momentum as we go into the games in March. But really, I need to evaluate these 30-some-odd players that are Major League Soccer players and see how they can fit in or project how they can help us in 2017, whether it's qualifiers in March or June or even the Gold Cup this summer.
As you just mentioned, all MLSers in this camp. And as somebody who has spent, the better part of the last decade in MLS, how important is it for guys who play in this country domestically to be a part of the U.S. men's national team? And how do you see that sort of propelling the growth of soccer in the United States?
Well, I think 2/3 of our pool are domestic players, Major League Soccer players. And I think if our national team is going to grow to where we want it to grow and to challenge globally, our domestic league needs to be a strong one. And we have very good players here, and we have to make that statement and insist on that. And then we got to get the job done on the field. So I'm a big believer in these players, and hopefully they play an important role in the U.S. qualifying for Russia in 2018.
Bruce, thank you so much. Good luck with the rest of camp.
Thank you.
Lots to chew on there, but let's get back to the draft for a second here. Minnesota's on the clock. You heard Todd Durbin say Philadelphia called the timeout. Perhaps there's some maneuvering going on here. Let's get up to the podium and see what's going on here. This is the 3rd pick of the 2nd round, 25th overall. Minnesota already made a move to get this pick from the Chicago Fire. And again, the Philadelphia Union are the ones that called the timeout.
Yeah. Timeouts in the 2nd round of the draft. I think there should be some sort of penalty for that, guys, don't you?
No. If you're trying to make, maybe Philadelphia said, hey, we're trying to get a deal here. Todd Durbin's trying to figure out what's actually happening. Okay, they're running through everything. They are deciphering the hieroglyphics.
It looks like the trade form wasn't filled out correctly.
Paperwork, that'll kill you.
Exactly.
They said, we're new to this. We're new to this. All right? This is our first time.
Yeah, it's our first time.
Okay. The Phillies done work addressing some of their needs this offseason. I think Ernie Stewart's done a good job. I do have questions about the kid Simpson, the English kid they signed as the center forward. But to me, they don't have any glaring needs. So if they're making a move right here, they have somebody who's probably in their top 10 or 12 on their draft board who has suddenly fallen. Yeah. I'm not sure who it would be. I could see Schmidt from UW. I could see Napo Matsoso from University of Kentucky, who I think will end up being a D-mid, a ball winner in central midfield, which maybe they lacked a little bit, but I'm not sure.
Here it comes. Todd Durbin taking to the podium. He'll explain everything.
Involving Minnesota United and the Philadelphia Union. Minnesota United have traded the 3rd pick of the 2nd round to Philadelphia in return for the 20th pick in the second round and $50,000 of 2018 general allocation money. And with the 3rd pick of the 2nd round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Philadelphia select from the University of South Florida forward Marcus Epps.
Toronto FC are now on the clock.
All right, so it's Marcus Epps, the eventual draft pick here, and he's going to the Philadelphia Union.
More winger than forward to me. I think he'll end up playing out wide, where they have some depth, but clearly they saw something in him there where they thought he could slot right in. To me, he has explosiveness going north-south. He struggled to find his wing back, or his fullback rather, on the overlap. And I thought there were a lot of times, both for USF and at the Combine, where he sort of had a little bit of tunnel vision when he needed to be a little more aware of the field around him.
Individually, I think he has great skills. I like his technical ability on the ball. A little bit surprised that Minnesota gave up the draft pick for a little bit of money and a pick next year, because as an expansion team, you really don't need a hell of a lot more money. You've got a lot of money. So, that was surprising to me. But Epps is technically a very, very good player. His productivity sometimes doesn't match his activity, but he's definitely technically a very, very good player with good pace.
How worrisome is that when the productivity doesn't match the activity? Or is the activity ultimately useful for a guy?
No, you want to see production at the end of the day. I mean, if a guy gets close, it's what I call ooh-ooh-ah players. You go ooh-ooh-ooh-ah. And you sort of, and ooh-ooh-ah players, cause people to lose jobs. And so you don't want to have that happen.
Yeah, when Indiana Jones shoots the guy, it's all the dancing and all the movement, and then boom, that's it. You got to,
You want Indiana
don't bore
Jones.
us, get to the chorus.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Philadelphia Union's a team. We haven't heard from them yet today. We haven't heard a whole lot from Philadelphia in the offseason, but Ernie Stewart said we're not done yet.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
Well, they got the young Dutch left back, which was a big need for them, and they got Jay Simpson, a center forward, who I assume is coming in to start, given that he's a TAM player. I think they're still shopping for a number 6. Because Brian Carroll is, he's in the last act of his career, and I think Warren Creval's a good player, but he's maybe not as dynamic a player in terms of his passing and reading of the game as they need at that spot. I think there's one big move to come from Philly.
I think there might be 2 moves in midfield, because I think they need a couple of midfielders, because obviously with the departure of Barnetta as well, that opens up a little bit of a hole there. Carroll's near the end, and Barnetta playing up higher. But I have a lot of faith in Ernie. I've known him. Lexi's known him for a long time. Yep. He's very calculated, very thoughtful. He's got a plan. He moves step by step. He doesn't, point a lot of fingers at himself and saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But every day he gets a little further in his work.
And he believed that this was worth the flip and worth the money.
I mean, we'll find out eventually, right? But I look at that team. They have a lot of wingers. They have, Fabian Herbers, they have Ilsinho, they have Eric Ayuk, who was, I think, pretty good 2 years ago and decent last year in USL.
But I really don't think Philly gave up very much to get this pick.
Do the $50,000 in 2018.
I don't think $50K is that much in a 2018 draft choice. I think they saw something in Epps, and Minnesota didn't really ask for that much.
How much of it, though, is maybe Alexi, you could speak to this, having been a GM. How much of it is sometimes you just want your fans to see you doing something?
I think
it's a good question.
Optics are huge, and
all right, let's go back to the podium here with the 4th pick of the 2nd round.
We have a trade to announce involving Toronto FC and the Chicago Fire. Toronto FC have traded the 4th and 5th picks in the 2nd round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft to the Chicago Fire in return for $75,000 of targeted allocation money. And with the 4th pick of the 2nd round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the Chicago Fire select from the University of Louisville, goalkeeper Stefan Cleveland.
All right, so let's just go back here for a second. Originally, Chicago had the 3rd pick of the 2nd round. They worked a trade with Minnesota, who then gave that up to Philly. Now they have the 4th pick after trading with Toronto, and the 5th as well of the 2nd round, starting with Stefan Cleveland, the goalkeeper here.
I mean, he's played for, one of the best colleges in the country. Everybody's scouted him. Everybody knows his strengths and his weaknesses. And given Chicago's goalkeeping core at the moment, he comes in as the third keeper, which is fine if that's what you're looking for. Giving up $75,000 worth of TAM, I think that's actually more interesting from Toronto FC's perspective, because we know they're going after I don't want to say a big time, but an influential playmaking midfielder, and they don't have any DP spots left, so they need to get as much TAM as they possibly can. 2 second-round picks probably worth it to them.
Was the 250 in the first round that Chicago got TAM or GAM? What was
that? Was GAM.
That was GAM.
That was GAM. Yeah.
Make sure we keep it straight.
But remember,
they've
been hoarding TAM and GAM for about 100 years now. I mean, going back to the Jermaine Jones coin flip. So it's.
No, it's definitely there. I mean, obviously Toronto didn't lose much. So by them giving away these 2 picks, and they weren't going to do much, with these picks anyway.
And this is where having an academy and the second team, Toronto knows they're going to fill out their roster with guys they've been, blooding for the last 4 or 5 years with the TFC2 and TFC3. You don't need those second-round picks if you're TFC. You need the TAM, though, if they want to go out and get a number 10 who could, lead to them lifting that MLS Cup.
Sort of leads to a greater question. As the academy teams blossom, as the USL affiliates of these MLS teams blossom, how long do you see the draft lasting 4 rounds?
Yeah, we're 25 picks into the draft here, and it's not just now. It's probably already happened earlier where teams are doing that assessment saying, you know what, we're not going to get anything that is equal, comparable to what we already have within our system. And so we'll just go out and use the picks, whether it's multiple picks or 1 pick at a time, and get that return. It's already 4 rounds right now. I mean, I think it's too big just in terms of the number of players, and I think it's too big in terms of the rounds.
I think it's going to shrink to 3 rounds once you have the next set of expansion. So with the next set of expansion, I think you're going to see it go back to 3 rounds.
All right, we have 2 rounds today, and we're just really at the top here of the second round, and Chicago Fire are going to have another pick. They're going back to back. I'm almost surprised that pick isn't in yet. You figure if you have 2 straight picks, you kind of have an idea of where the second pick is going to be. Greg Vanney from Toronto traded those picks. He's with Susanna Collins. The question is why?
Thank you, Russ. All right, Greg, you've made some moves today. You picked up Brandon Aubrey. How do you feel your draft day is going so far?
Very well. We wanted to come in. We had our eye on a couple different center backs. It was good to see Brandon drop, not for him, but for us. But now he's with us. So we got what we needed out of that. And whenever you have the opportunity in the second round to pick up some extra cash to maybe get some deals done on the other side, then it's something to consider. And that's where we went. And also we really like what we have coming through our academy. And so there's always different things that you measure your opportunities with. And we made a deal, and now we're done for the day.
It was only just over a month ago that we were in Toronto for Cup, and I know that it was such a tough loss for you guys. And after the incredible season that you have, a month on, what are your takeaways from this season? And have you kind of come to peace with how it all went down?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the good news is that they don't give you a lot of time for you to, be in your saguaro, to feel bad for yourself. So immediately you have to get on to start preparing for the next year, and that's what we did. I mean, for us, it's motivation. We thought we played well. We thought we did enough to put ourselves or give ourselves a chance to win. We didn't, and we're going to use it as motivation to push ourselves to be better next year. And I think that's important. We like our starting points going into next year, and today was about adding a couple good young guys to our system and trying to make our team a little bit better, and obviously picking up a little bit of money. And we're looking forward to getting started. Our guys are hungry.
Thank you so much, Greg. Russ, back to you.
All right, Greg Vanney there with Susanna Collins. Russ Thaler here with Alexi Lawless and the returning Sasha Surofsky joining us here as the second round continues. Sasha is a guy who's been in the college game forever. What do you make of teams deciding, we're kind of done. We traded these picks. We're done. We're only a few picks into the second round.
I think that's really dumb. I think that you have an opportunity here to add some value to your team. We've had so many good second rounds.
With the 5th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the Chicago Fire select from the University of Delaware, forward Guillermo Delgado.
The San Jose Earthquakes
All right, and back to your point, Sasha. If you want it out, you don't get a guy like Guillermo Delgado.
Listen, this is a terrific player here. We've played against him for 3 years. He's got exceptional pace. He's a terrific counterattacking striker. He's refined his game. He can finish in the air. He can finish with his feet. He's got to still get a little better in build-up play, but this is the kind of player you pick up late. I could see Guillermo Delgado playing a lot of minutes for Chicago this year. He's a terrific player. And back to your point, there's good players out there. Do your work. Find the nuggets.
Guillermo Delgado, a Spaniard, walking up to the podium, and here we go. Let's hear from him.
I would like to thank, obviously, all of my family, especially my parents who are back in Spain. Unfortunately, they have to work, so they couldn't follow me here. But if they could, they would be here as they have been along all of my life, growing up in a soccer country. Coming over to the U.S., it's been a pleasure. 4 years in Delaware. I also want to thank, obviously, my coaches in Delaware, my teammates. Without them, obviously, I wouldn't be able to be here and be able to pursue my dream, which is playing soccer for a living. So, again, my parents, the most important thing in my life. Again, my girlfriend who flew from Delaware all the way here to be with me as well. And I'm very glad. Also, thank you a lot to Chicago. It's a beautiful city, great staff and great coaches, and I'm excited and thrilled to give everything I have on the field during the next year. Thank you very much.
So the fighting blue hen is on his way to Chi-Town. What were you going to say?
A tough sell getting the girlfriend to fly out to L.A. from Delaware in the middle of
Hey,
January.
Wow. Lay off the first state.
It was 70 degrees yesterday in Delaware. It's 58 degrees here. So
That's right. What are you talking about, Doyle?
Guillermo Delgado has the makings of a super sub striker to me. He's a guy who I think will come off the bench and poach some goals. He's going to push the line deeper. He does a lot of the same stuff that I think Michael Deleu does. Not at that level, but maybe even a little quicker. As Sasha said, the kid's got burners.
Yep. Exceptional pace. I mean, he scored goals. He's been the player of the year in the Colonial Conference for the last couple of years. Him and Joel Holland are ready-made first-team players in MLS. Joe Holland from Hofstra, two of the best players in the Colonial Conference. And this is a very savvy pickup. Just remember this pick. This young man will add value to Chicago.
Put a star on that.
Yep.
And he's going to a place where the potential to be a star, to play, exists. And that's always a key component of this. One thing to be a good player, it's another thing to go to a place where you're actually going to play.
Right, fit is huge. San Jose Earthquakes are up, and the pick is in.
With the 6th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the San Jose Earthquakes select from the University of South Florida, midfielder Lindo Mafeka.
We got a good look at Lindo Mafeka yesterday at the Combine in the last day.
He's
play.
Tricky in tight spaces, just really, really good on the ball. Able to get out of trouble, and as we see right here, that's a goal with his off foot. So he can, he knows where the net is. I question whether the end product is going to be there enough. I think that the talent to become someone who gives you the end product is there, but they're going to have to work on that with him.
Yeah, I think the challenge is being a number 10 really at the MLS level is very difficult. There's so many aspects you have to be good at, including production. We saw a couple of goals there, but usually the end product isn't always there. He's a gifted passer, and I think he'll have to adjust his game a little bit to get on the field, but his left foot is special. We saw a right-footed goal there, but he's got a special left foot putting guys in. Sometimes he just needs to make the play when it needs to happen, not when he wants it to happen. I think the timing of his passing has to get a little bit better.
All right, let's get you back to the back. Susanna Collins with Minnesota United head coach Adrian Heath.
Thank you, Russ. All right, Adrian, first pick, you get Abu Danladi. Was this always your guy? Was this always going to be your number one?
I think there was a few players that we were looking at, but I think it's pretty much common knowledge that everybody thought he was probably the most talented kid in the draft. And for me, we spent about an hour with him, and after I got to know him and saw his personality, put one or two sort of questions to him, and talking about Minnesota not being Santa Barbara or LA, and he was adamant that he just wanted to go and play football. So, coupled with his ability, I thought he was a great pick for us.
As your roster kind of starts to take shape, there's been some rumors. Kevin Molino, a name that's been thrown out there, a guy that you're very familiar with. What else are you sort of looking to add to complete this squad?
Well, we need a bit of depth, but that will come in time. What we've been trying to focus on now is starters, and we've got 3 or 4 others in the pipeline at the minute. So I'm hoping by the time we get to the 23rd in Arizona for pre-season, we'll rounded it out pretty much, bar 1 or 2 positions.
You said this is your 44th day since being appointed head coach. You've spent about 13 days in Minnesota. At this point, how anxious are you to just get started?
Well, not that I'm counting, by the way. That was somebody reminding me how many days I've been in Minnesota. But with all the travel and with Christmas coming on and the combine here, I just want to get back on the grass and working with the players because that's what we all enjoy doing. So, after this weekend, back up to Minnesota and let's get planning.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Russ, back to you.
All right, Susanna, thank you very much. And lots to do for Minnesota United. But he says he thinks he's going to have his whole squad ready to go by the time preseason starts. So he's there. He set the benchmark.
He's got to have 11 by the time the season starts.
I guess that's fair enough.
No, it's absolutely true. I've researched it.
Yeah, no, okay, good.
You need 11.
Good. You have a little experience on that. All right, Vancouver Whitecaps are up next here in the second round. 7th pick of the second round, 29th overall. Haven't heard a lot from the Whitecaps. It's their second pick of the draft so far. Another team that probably underperformed in 2016.
So.
Yeah. So what needs to get better?
Well, they need to have DPs who do what DPs are supposed to do. Pedro Morales was not as good in year 3 as he had been in year 1 in the first half of year 2. They still don't have a number 9 that puts the ball in the net with any consistency. And those are, no matter what they do right here, those are the 2 spots that they need to upgrade. The other spot was right back, which I think they got between Jacob Nerwinski and signing Shannon Williams. So I think they hit the one big thing in the defense. The big questions now are central midfield and center forward.
And they should be good on the wing, though. Kakunamane is coming back, had the broken foot at the end of the year, missed 15 games. That certainly won't hurt them.
Alphonso Davies as well, Christian Teixeira. They have talent on the wings. They need a couple of pieces to sort of conduct it all through midfield and tie it all together.
They got to do it. They got to do it this year. And I think that Carl Robinson, I think that organization is going to be under pressure to do it. And they stuck with him. They believe that this is the right way to go. But they're only going to be patient for so long.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's a center back that they pick right now because I think they need a little bit of depth at the center back position.
All right, here comes Todd Durbin with the pick.
With the 7th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Vancouver Whitecaps FC select from St. Francis University, defender Francis Freeze.
Francis Freeze from St. Francis of Pennsylvania.
DeVries. Yeah, part of his name there. He's a guy I liked at the Combine. Like I said, a big center back, left-footed, got a pretty educated left foot. You can see he's a beanpole. So there is a worry that he will get pushed around, and I think that's pretty well founded. But he's a guy who's definitely worth a look at this point.
And he's going to talk. He's up
Just
at the podium.
A few quick words of thanks. Thank you, first of all, to my parents. They're everything to me. I wouldn't be here without them, as we all know. Thanks to my brother for inspiring me to become a better person. I'm proud of you, bro. Keep doing your job. A few clubs I've been through, Kashmir Wanderers, my youth club, Fred Simpson, thank you very much. Asia Pacific Football Academy, Gio, Rob, Andy Smith, all you guys were great to me. To the staff at FC Basel Youth Academy, Michel Kohler, inspiring me over there. And then in America, thanks to everybody at St. Francis University, my professors, the athletic department, the parents that gave me a house to stay when I didn't have anywhere to go. To my coach, Michael Casper, who brought me here, Anthony Moore, the assistant, and now Paulo Neto for his last 2 years. They all helped me become much better players. Michigan Bucks in the PDL. Dan Duggan, thanks for being here. Demir Muftari, Gary Parsons, I'd all to you guys. Lastly, to my agents, Mike and Eddie, thank you very much for all you've done for me. And all the teammates that I've had over the years, you guys have all made me better, and I appreciate all that you guys have done for me. Thank you, Vancouver. I'm ready to get to work.
Francis DeVries, from New Zealand. Look, we have a lot of Uniteds in this league now. We need some Wanderers. I mean, Detroit Wanderers. How about that?
The Detroit Wanderers.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think it's a very savvy pick by Vancouver. I think there's a shortage of left-footed left center backs, and he's got a cultured left foot. He can play out of the back. Yeah, obviously, he's good on set pieces. May not be taking them. They usually falls to the number 10s on teams, but this is a young man that every coach that played against St. Francis said this might be one of the better center backs in the country. He earned the respect of opposing coaches. I thought he showed well at the combine. I think there's a question about his pace and his recovery speed at the center back. But he seems to get a lot done with his mind. He gets himself in good spots. So I think it's a savvy pick. I think he could be a very good success.
He looks awkward and he looks clumsy. Let's just say it. And yet, because I think he's got a very good soccer mind, he understands how to play the position and to be positionally correct. And the distribution, like you said, each and every time on that left foot. If you're a forward, if you're a midfielder, and you know that more often than not he is going to look for you, and more importantly, he's going to be able to find you on a consistent basis with that left foot. That's something that a lot of people are looking for.
And that matters for Vancouver because their attack has been so wing heavy. They want to go back to front, maybe faster than any team in the league. So you need to have center backs who can hit those long diagonals from one wing to from the back line to one wing, from the back line to the other wing. DeVries does fit that mold. Going to be tough for him to break into the lineup.
Francis DeVries says he's ready to get to work. About 18 months ago, Houston and Orlando worked out a trade for this pick. Comes to fruition right now.
With the 8th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the Houston Dynamo select from the University of Tulsa, goalkeeper Jake McGuire.
Jake McGuire from the University of Tulsa. And he's here with us tonight.
He had a minute or two, I believe, with the U.S. U17s. He had some rough moments at the combine, but he produced also the most spectacular save of the event. And you see someone who could have a special moment like that. Hey, worth a second round pick.
There you go. He's up on the stage and he's got something to say.
Whew, what an opportunity this is. I'm just excited to get started with this team. Thank you to my family for being out here, my beautiful fiance and her family for coming down from San Francisco. Just really excited for this opportunity. I want to thank my coaches at the University of Tulsa, Tom McIntosh, Daniel Charbonnier, Justin Cook, Ryan Poor. Thank you to everybody who's supported me along throughout the years, and thank you. Excited to get to work.
All right, here's a look at Jake McGuire, goalkeeper from the University of Tulsa. This is from the combine. Is that the save you're talking about?
That was the one, yeah. He's brave. He stays upright when he should stay upright. I don't think he's super quick off his line, but he makes the saves that he should make, which is kind of job one for a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Think of David Bingham. He's a terrific athlete. He probably still needs a little polish technically in certain areas, but I know Tom McIntosh at Tulsa really loves him and has seen the progression. He's not ready to step in as maybe even a number 2 right now, but it won't be long before he gets into number 2 and could be a number 1 at some point in his career.
Former Chivas USA product, Chivas USA Academy, which is kind of cool, and good feet. Which is important nowadays in the game. And if you're a coach and you can have a goalkeeper who you have confidence playing and your players have confidence playing around, that much the better. It's not always the case.
Right now, New England Revolution are on the clock. Of course, everyone is hanging in there with us with the Twitter hashtag SuperDraft. Is Brian Wright the pick by the Revs as a trade chip? As much as they needed a central defender, you see Hume being there at 30. Well, yeah, we know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Hume is here if they want him.
Hume is here and Schmidt is here. And look, I think what we've seen in this draft is that central defenders who don't test well in terms of agility at the combine are the ones who drop. Yeah. The guys who rose in the draft are the ones who showed the ability to keep up with speedy attackers, especially wingers. So I think that the Revs should still pick one of these guys, but I think we're getting a better understanding of how GMs in the modern game think.
So is it the testing or is it the keeping up with?
I think it's both, right? If you see a guy who gets burned on the field, and then you look at his numbers and say, well, he's slow. That's not, that wasn't an anomaly what just happened. Whereas if Miles Robinson gets skinned, you say, you know what, he has the tools to work through that. As for Brian Wright being a trade chip, I like him, but literally every team in the league passed on him. So I'm not sure how much value. It might make it easier, though, to trade Kai Kamara, because if you have Josie Altidore as your number 9, you can maybe have Brian Wright as your backup number 9, and then Kai Kamara becomes a useful trade chip.
Yeah. Josie Altidore, former second-round pick many years ago.
Yeah, but second round meant like the 12th pick back then.
Come on now, you're ruining the narrative that Alexi was trying to project here.
Things can happen.
We can make a Richie Marquez reference. He was picked, I think, 43rd a few years back.
I think the point about the center backs and speed is an important one, though, because you look at the strikers in this league. It's becoming a very, very athletic league, and you look at the strikers you have to deal with, and the young talent like a Dunladi coming in, and you've got pacey players, Jordan Morse, young players around the league, and then some of the internationals. I think it is very important, particularly if you're a team that wants to play with a high line. You better have the pace to deal with, to deal with the recovery speed. So, but you see a guy like Francis DeVries, it's not all there. You can match up two guys, and maybe if one has speed, then the other, it's not as big a deal. And I think this is where you have to look at the complementary type of players that you have in the back. How can you make it work?
As a center back, how much can anticipation make up for maybe a lack of a step or two?
This might come as a surprise to you, but back in the 1900s when I was playing, I was not what you call, fleet of foot, let's say. And so you have to make up in certain ways.
Held your back.
Yeah, well, at times, I looked good, but I wasn't necessarily getting to the ball or doing anything. So you have to be thinking ahead. Just look, any defender has to be someone that's thinking about what if, and trying to have all the different scenarios, and at least more scenarios than that forward that you're covering. And you have to get into position earlier. You have to pull. You have to do different things to succeed. But I've also played with guys that tested very, very well, and it didn't necessarily translate on the field. All things equal, if a guy is testing very well and he's great on the field, that's wonderful. But I would be interested to see what a coach would do testing-wise, where if you just had to base it off testing, which guys would actually be the ones that you would take?
Don't ever do that as a coach.
The pick is in. Let's hear
With the 9th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the New England Revolution select from the University of Kentucky, midfielder Napo Matoso.
The Portland Timbers are now.
All right, Napo Matoso is a name that you've brought up earlier in this draft, Matt.
Yeah, he was more of an attacker in college, and you see him drawing a penalty here. I think that he will eventually become a defensive midfielder. I think he just has a knack for winning second balls. He reads the play very well. His range of passing isn't great, but he does see the field a little bit. He's very quick. And here's the other thing. He's reportedly very, very close to his green card. So there is a good chance that this will not take up an international roster slot for the Revs, and we all know how important that is in MLS.
Susanna Collins is in the back right now with Atlanta United's technical director, Carlos Bocanegra. Look at the Boca. Hello there.
Well, hello, Russ, and thank you. All right, Carlos, busy day for you guys. You pick up Julian Gressel, Miles Robinson. Are you feeling good about how draft day is going so far?
Yeah, we're very excited. Look, to get these two guys in our team, come in and compete for some minutes. We feel very good about today.
You're a former center back. Miles is a center back. What about his game do you see that he can come in and make an impact right away?
Yeah, look, so we'll rewind a little bit. We're not looking for these guys necessarily putting the pressure on them to come in and make an impact right away. We've tried to build our team ahead of time where these guys can be pieces to the puzzle. But what I really like about Miles at center back is people talk about his athleticism a lot, and he does have that, which is a great quality. But if you see him anticipate and his body work and his how he positions his feet, anticipating a ball over the top, or the ability to step into the midfield, he really reads the game very well, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. I think with his athleticism, he makes it look a little bit easier sometimes. And then the other people, people weren't super high on his feet, but I'll tell you what, the kid can pass the ball and he can defend, and you know what? He's got a big future ahead of him.
Well, February 11th, got a preseason game against Chattanooga. As you guys are kind of putting the pieces together for your team, what are you going to be watching for, especially in these preseason games?
Yeah, so look, obviously we'll be evaluating all the players, Tata and his staff, and we'll discuss, a little fine-tune and tweaks here and there. But look, we're really excited to just get out there. Preseason starts the 23rd. We're hungry to get on the field. The guys are itching to get out there on the field, and now it's real for us. We've done all 2 years of prep, and now let's get out there on the field.
Carlos, thanks so much. Russ, back to you.
All right, thank you very much. Portland Timbers are on the clock here. Look, we got about a minute 15 maybe till this pick is in. So Sasha, since I have you here, and Siggy, you coached in the college ranks as well. Sasha, how close are we to seeing men's college soccer, or college soccer men and women, going to maybe a fall and spring season?
Well, this is the pivotal year. I think the proposal's set. We've vetted it out for over 3 years. I think we're going to hopefully get it into the system for a vote. It's going to be a men's-only proposal at this point. And we can go into a little more details in a little bit, but right now we just finished our Division I meetings. The coaches have a plan of action. We hope to get it into the system, and hopefully a year from now we get a positive vote where we can play soccer over 2 semesters and have the championships in May and June and not in November, December.
Sasha, whose call is that ultimately? Who at the NCAA says yes or no, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, that's the athletic directors in the end will vote. Will vote for it. But we've done a good job of being patient and educating the athletic directors. We have a lot more work to do still this year, but the momentum is coming our way. The movement within the NCAA is shifting in student athlete welfare. Time demands are a big issue. Our proposal addresses all of the positives for the student athlete experience.
Does an AD at a school without men's soccer have as much say in this as an AD at University of Maryland?
Sasha, don't answer that question. The pick is in with Portland. We're going to get that pick. We'll come back and continue the conversation.
With the 10th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the Portland Timbers select from UCLA, defender Michael Amick.
And he's here, so we're going to hear from him. Look, we got a college player being picked, and there's been so much talk about the college game and how it has to adapt to what the pro game has become in the United States. So it's an important conversation for us to continue. First, let's hear from the Portland Timbers draft pick from UCLA defender Michael Amick. After he takes his picture with Tundra.
Sure. First of all, I want to start by thanking Portland Timbers for the opportunity. I look forward to heading up there and getting going as soon as possible. Second, I want to thank my parents. Without them, obviously, none of this is possible. They've done so much to make my dreams a reality. So thank you to them. Thank you to my 2 sisters who always push me to be the best that I can be each and every day, and I hope they continue to push me to be better. Finally, just want to say a quick thank you to everyone from UCLA, from Dianza Force, my club, all my coaches, Jorge Salcedo, Sean Securis, Eric Yamamoto, everyone who's helped make this dream a reality, and I look forward to getting to work. Thank you very much.
As the academies become bigger and U23 teams become bigger, you talked about reality, making dreams a reality. What's the reality about what could happen to college soccer if it can't adjust to the times?
Well, go ahead, Siggy.
No, I was going to say, I'm a college soccer fan. I think there's always going to be a future for college soccer. There's the psychological development, the psychological growth, the maturity that happens in college as well. That doesn't necessarily happen if you sign a homegrown 18-year-old and he's still living at home and he's not moving out of the house and so forth. It's different. You're going away to college and you got to do laundry and you got to pay rent and you got to do those things. So that's important. I think there's always going to be a place. Sasha and the other coaches and the athletic directors are working diligently and very hard and have a fantastic plan as to how to make the game better and make the college experience a better one for soccer players.
All right, look, the pick is in again. So we'll come back. Sasha, you have the next word, but the Philadelphia Union have the next pick. So let's get it back to the podium.
With the 11th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, the Philadelphia Union select from Clemson University, defender Aaron Jones.
DC United are now
Aaron Jones is here as well, so he'll make his way up to the podium. And what kind of player is Aaron Jones, Matt?
He's a right back. I thought he had a little bit of bad luck at the combine, being on, I think, the worst team there. But he was very, very good for a very good Clemson team for a long while in the ACC. I like this pick as a depth pick for them at right back.
Part of that team that made it to the national championship game a year ago at Clemson, and here's Aaron Jones.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just want to say it's an honor to be here in LA for the MLS SuperDraft. I'd like to extend a big thank you to the Philadelphia Union for selecting me and showing a lot of faith in me. I already can't wait to get excited on this new journey. I'd like to thank my parents, who I know will be watching back home in England, for all the support they've gave me along the years on this journey. I'd also like to thank my 2 universities I've been at since I've been in the States, Georgia State University with Brett Sorensen, Jack Kimber, Ed Joyce. Also thanks to Clemson University most recently, Mike Noonan, Phil Jones. It's been a great journey, and I can't wait to get started. Thank you.
Aaron Jones, selection of the Philadelphia Union. Final word on our college soccer discussion goes to you, Sasha.
Well, look, college soccer has been pigeonholed into a fall semester from 1959 on, and there's been no positive changes to the calendar. And most of the problems with the college game have to do with the unbalanced schedule. Too many games in the fall, not enough practices. No meaningful games in the spring, too many practices. There's plenty of sports to play 2 semesters. All we're saying is give us balance, spread it out over both semesters, play the championships in May, June, and let the game flourish. Let the student-athlete experience properly flourish. We can really, college soccer has always been the glue in this country. We're not doing it justice for the student-athlete.
I have to follow up, so you get one more last word. How does that affect the draft? Because the draft is in January, so if you're playing 2 semesters, what happens to the kids who are drafted now?
Yeah, there's a couple of models you can do. You know, like lacrosse will draft their kids in January. The kids will know what teams they're with, and as soon as the season's over, they go to their clubs. Many of these kids will be playing for USL clubs to begin with either way. There's also the other possibility that you can just wait till the College Cup that's in May, June, and those players can join that team. They have the ability, like in baseball and other places now, where you might just join the USL squad if you're not ready, whether it's roster limitations or different things. The MLS front office has been fantastic. They said, we'll solve that. You guys get this done, we'll solve the draft.
All right, best of luck to you with that. And the pick is in. DC United has the next pick, 12th of the second round. And back up to the podium we go.
With the 12th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, DC United select from Monmouth University the goalkeeper Eric Klanowski.
Eric Klanowski, a very tall goalkeeper from Monmouth University on the Jersey Shore. And he is here as well, so we're actually going to hear from, that was, by the way, Lino Niquello from the MLS League office.
Klanowski played for the Red Bulls U23s. As you said, he's huge. He gets down really well, especially for a big guy. Good feet, bad combine. And he paid the price and dropped 10, 15 spots because of it.
But Monmouth has done a good job producing goalkeepers. You know, Brian Meredith, who I had with me in Seattle, came out of Monmouth as well. And, you know, they're usually technically pretty sound and pretty clean.
And here we go. Let's hear from him. Eric Klanowski.
This has been a dream of mine for as long as I can remember. I just want to thank DC United for having faith in me and having some belief in me to play at the next level. First and foremost, I want to thank God for this. I've always had faith, and I'm just at a loss for words right now. This is a dream come true. I want to thank my parents, TSF Academy, my youth club. Thank you so much for everything and everybody there. DePaul Catholic, my high school. I owe so much to people back there, and the Mama Soccer program as well. Coach McCourt, Huey, Blackburn. I wouldn't be standing here without you guys, and it's just a lot of emotions right now. Thank you guys. All the best.
Look, maybe an opportunity for Klanowski at DC. Bill Hamid out of the U.S. January camp with a knee injury. Andrew Dykstra, their backup for years there. He's now not with them anymore. There might be some room. And DC's had some good backups
Travis
through the
Warren,
years.
one of the best backups in the league
And
right
he's
now.
with the team, probably might be looking at starting, early in the season if Hamid can't get back on the field.
Exactly. It's a good pick. It's a good value pick for DC. You can't let one bad week wash away, 4 strong years, which is what Eric Klinowski gave you in college.
Yeah, I think that's a very good pick, actually. He reminds me of Greg Sutton, who played with TFC early in the days. He's 6'5", tall guy. He's coming into his body a little bit lately. I think he's very athletic. His feet are pretty good. I think he was inconsistent at the combine, but his body work at Monmouth is very good. I could see him find his place in MLS and certainly be a very good number 2 or 3 for sure this year.
Right, on to the 13th pick of the second round. It's Real Salt Lake with the selection.
With the 13th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Real Salt Lake select from the University of Washington defender Justin Schmidt.
Justin Schmidt, a player who I think a lot of people thought was going to be selected earlier in the day.
I think everybody thought he'd be going earlier in the day. I think Real Salt Lake, Craig Weibel, their GM, is really, really happy about this because he never expected at the 35th pick that he would be able to still land him. He's coached him before. He knows what he can do. The staff knows him well. He's got a fantastic left foot that he really didn't show at the combine very much. I thought he had a quiet combine, but he's a talented player who's technically very good with the ball.
And he comes from a program that produces pros. You know what you're getting out of the University of Washington, and I think that they obviously, Craig Weibel likes that a lot. The other thing is there are questions on the back line for RSL in terms of depth. Justin Glad's going to be gone the first part of the year with the US U20s. Schuler and Mond, I think, are both good players, but both frequently injured. There's a guy they're trying to get out of one of the teams in Turkey, but he may not be able to come until summertime. So if you can get a guy who will walk into not necessarily the lineup, but into the depth chart, that's value. And I think they'll be very happy with this.
Well, as I said earlier, there's a shortage of left-footed center backs, and now it's a third center back in the second round with a left foot that's been taken from DeVries to Michael Amick to now Justin Schmidt. And I think, you can't ever have enough depth in that position, whether he's playing out of the back, et cetera. But Justin Schmidt's a guy that loves to defend. When we played him, that's what I see out of this guy. He loves to defend, and yes, he's got a decent left foot, but I think he's a guy that doesn't mind the battle.
They might want to make him sing in RSL. He's part of Unleashed, the a cappella group at the University of Washington. The man can sing. Hey, look, we have a trade. There's been a trade, and you might be interested in this. LA Galaxy have sent AJ De La Garza to Houston Dynamo for a combination of general and targeted allocation money. Remember, LA needs money to sign Jermaine Jones. AJ De La Garza, we don't have the numbers on the Gam and Tam that was sent for that, but AJ De La Garza is on his way. Oh, yeah, we do. We do have the numbers. What am I saying? It's right up there. I need to start looking at the monitor in front of me. So $175,000. I don't know if that's going to get it done for Jones, but at least it'll get him started.
Well, congratulations to Houston. That's a very, very smart young man to take. All AJ does is win championships. He won 2 at Maryland. He won 3 with the Galaxy. The kid is a winner.
He's run out of fingers.
He's a versatile player. Yeah, he's got to go to his other hand now. But Mike Del Russo, the former assistant coach at Maryland, he's the assistant now at Houston Dynamo, knows AJ. I can see a connection there. This surprises me. I didn't talk to anybody, but I like reconnecting the Terps.
And for me, it's a very surprising trade because I don't think the Galaxy has a lot of depth, but I know they got to put together a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there to create the money that they want to get after a guy like Jones or some of those others. But, now they've got to replace, him in the back because they've got Robbie Rogers on one side and Ashley Cole was pretty old on the other side, and he was the glue and the depth and can play anywhere in the back four.
And now he's going to play again with Leonardo.
With the 14th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Houston Dynamo select from University of Akron defender Danilo Rajan.
All right, Danilo Rajan, defender from Akron.
Yeah, so suddenly the Dynamo have depth on their back line now.
Just like that.
Rajan, he's, as you can see, he's big, he's good in the air. I thought he read the game pretty well. Stuff did seem to happen a little too quickly around him, and maybe he didn't recover as well as some of the other guys in the draft, but there's skill there, and there are some physical characteristics that are obviously going to be pretty useful in a league like MLS.
Yeah, I didn't know him very well until the combine, but I liked his. I think his feet were very good, and he looks like he might be a guy that can shift out wide as well if he doesn't cut it in the center of the park, because he looked like he has some decent ideas going forward.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, at this point of the draft, a lot of times as a head coach, you're talking to your USL coach, and you're saying, okay, he says, hey, I might need a center back. You know, yeah, we could use a center back down the line. He's a good pick for us. We can send him there for a year, see how he develops. Maybe he becomes our guy. But you're now in communication with your USL team and saying, okay, what do we need at that level as well?
And, of course, Wilmer Cabrera knows that very well, having come from Rio Grande Valley to now be the head coach for the Dynamo. It'll be interesting to see how this develops. Maybe in the middle of 2018 or 2019, we're talking about what a great pick this was after a couple years marinating.
All right, FC Dallas is on the clock now. There's a look at the Houston Dynamo table, but FC Dallas is on the clock. Supporter Shield winners from a year ago. They won't have Mauro Diaz early in the season. Javier Morales, they pick him up, a legend at Real Salt Lake. Does he have enough legs to carry that load in the early part of the campaign for what Dallas might ask of him, or might they just not ask of him what they ask of Diaz?
Hey, it's going to be a little more difficult for them, you know, without Diaz, and Morales is older in his legs, and as he's gotten older, he's played a little deeper on the field, and Diaz always played a little bit higher, and they need that midfielder who's going to cheat at the right times and stay high, but certainly Morales might be able to get him through those first months until Diaz comes back. Maybe he can't play every game, but he can play 3 out of 4, and they give him a little bit of rest here and there. It's a better option than trying to throw it onto the shoulders of a young kid.
Yeah, I could see FC Dallas needing a little bit of help at the center back. Zimmerman and Hedges are both in the national team picture at this point, and could be missing some games this summer. They have a lot of homegrowns that can fill the midfield and right now, but I think they could use a little bit of help. I could see them picking a center back.
Well, let's see what they pick, because the pick's in. Let's go back up to the podium.
With the 15th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, FC Dallas select from the University of North Carolina, defender Walker Hume.
Sasha, you were right.
Shocking.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Sasha was saying that. I was thinking in my head, Walker Hume, Walker Hume, Walker Hume.
And there it is. They already have Matt Hedges, another Tar Heel.
Another 6'5"
He turned out pretty well. He turned out pretty well.
All I know is if they have to have team suits, they got to have a lot of big suits. Zimmerman, Hume, and Hedges. There's a lot of tall boys back there.
Everything's bigger in Texas, so they're okay.
No, exactly. But in fairness, one of Oscar's things, with Dallas is, and he did the same thing in Colorado, is to rely a lot on set pieces. Yep. And he's had a guy who's a great server of set pieces in Diaz. He's got another guy now in Javi Morales who serves a great set piece. And he really relies on those big boys, that come forward, because set pieces have always been a big part of his game.
Yeah. And this kid has a chance to stick. There are only really 3 center backs on that roster. It's Hedges, Zimmerman, and Guillen, the homegrown kid. Guillen's left-footed, so Hume kind of fits a need. Maybe he ends up as the number 4 man on the depth chart. I think the talent is there for him. He will struggle with fast and physical guys, but he's a soccer player. He's not an athlete.
Yeah, and he can play multiple positions. He missed the 2015 campaign at North Carolina, put on the headsets, and called the games.
Coming for your job,
They
Russ.
did.
Well, Carolina's
and then went back and played.
Right. Carolina's produced some starters in their first year. Jonathan Campbell last year was very successful as a center back. Obviously, Matt Hedges. So there's some good pedigree there.
Some guy named Eddie Pope.
Yeah, that guy was pretty good too. Yeah.
Did pretty well way back.
Yeah, not too bad. Okay,
Greg Berhalter as well.
So
Yeah.
Walker, there's another guy walking around here that just looks just like Walker. It's his identical twin brother. It's also a guy who could end up being.
What happens if he doesn't get drafted? He could just show up every other day.
Like trying to fool your girlfriend.
They can arrest each other, man. This guy looks really fit.
Oscar, no, it's me. NYCFC is the next team on the clock. 2 minutes are on the clock, and we'll see what New York City FC does with that pick. That'll be 16th overall. But New York City, a team getting younger in front of our eyes.
Yeah, and I think they're going to get younger still. I'm going to make a prediction for this one. I think it's going to be Shamit Shom, the
first Canadian GA off the board. Yeah,
had 1,500 minutes or so with FC Edmonton last year. He's just 19. He did not look great at the combine. He has kind of a funny gait, and I think that kind of plays on the mind of coaches. But a guy who's already played at the professional level, and who could give a little bit of depth to this team in a position where they frankly need some depth, I think this makes sense as a pick for them. So let's hope I'm right, guys. I'm due.
Just to make it interesting, maybe they go Oduro.
Yeah.
To give them
The other Dominic Oduro,
defensive midfielder. The other Dominic Oduro, Reed.
Yeah, Adonijah Reed.
Yeah, maybe they take Reed, because he likes quick technical players.
I'm going to go with Siggy. I think holding midfield some cover for Andrea Pirlo's legs. Dominic Oduro.
All right, well, let's. I think the pick is in, so let's get up to the podium.
With the 16th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, New York City FC select from Xavier University midfielder Jaylen Brown.
Well, guys.
Okay. Well, we all missed it.
Well, they went midfield.
He scored maybe the goal of the combine, and we're about to watch it.
Yeah. This is his highlight.
Aiden Hazard goal right there. This is what he is. He's an inverted left winger who's better in the open field, I think, than he is in possession. But there are some qualities there that maybe Patrick Vieira can coach up.
Well, and they picked up Jonathan Lewis earlier. Now you're getting Jaylen Brown here. Obviously, they're looking for some wide play, some winger types that can help. Get David Villa the ball.
Well, we're going to play a 2-3-5 next year. Is that what we're looking at with NYCFC?
By the way, it's not a bad strategy to get David Villa the ball.
No, that works out fairly well.
That's pretty good.
Get the ball off enough. But I think it's also, a kid that they have on their team right now, like McNamara. He doesn't really see McNamara as a winger. I think he sees McNamara playing a little bit more inside. And so they're looking for some guys who can play outside.
Well, there you go. And next up is going to be the New York Red Bulls, topic of great discussion. But before we get to that, Susanna's got LA Galaxy's new head coach, Kurt Analfo. But before we get there, just Kurt Analfo, he was the LA Los Dos head coach for a while. There they are. There's Kurt and Susanna. You go. Go ahead, Susanna.
All right, Kurt. The big news today, you guys trade A.J. De La Garza to Houston for $175,000 in allocation money. This is a player who's contributed so much to the Galaxy over the years. This must have been a hard decision for you guys.
It's an extremely difficult decision. In athletics, sometimes you have to make very difficult decisions. I love A.J. as a person, as a player. He's done tremendous things for our club. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to make moves to, create space on your roster so that you can make your team better. So we have to say goodbye to AJ. That's hard for us to do. We appreciate everything he's done for our club, and we wish him all the best because that's what he deserves. And now it's our time to make our team better and move forward.
Well, you're getting, as I said, $175,000 in allocation money. Is there a plan to use that? I know there's been rumors around, signing Jermaine Jones. Do you guys have an idea as to where that will go?
Yeah, we have a plan where we'll be making announcements in the coming days and weeks of the players that we'll be adding to our team. Again, we have a roster already that we're very, very comfortable with, a roster that has great players already, and we'll add some players to that in the coming weeks. And then we also have players within our system that are ready to get playing time as well that are chomping at the bit. So we look forward to those moves and getting started right away and putting a great team on the field.
You guys have lost some key pieces in your roster. Do you kind of feel like at this point right now you're in sort of a rebuild? Is that how you're approaching the upcoming season?
It's change. You can call it change, rebuild, what have you. But again, we feel very confident in the group that we have. We'll add players that we know they're going to make us better. And then you're going to see players that have been, putting their time in that haven't quite had a whole lot of opportunities. So will be the depth of our team. So we're the Galaxy. We're going to do things right. We have a great plan, and we feel very confident about what we're doing, and we look forward to putting a great product on the field.
Kurt, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Guys, back to you.
New coach, new coaching staff for LA Galaxy. The pick is in from the New York Red Bulls here in the second round. So let's get you back to the podium. This is 17th, 39th overall in the draft. The New York Red Bulls.
With the 17th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, New York Red Bulls select from Colgate University, midfielder Ethan Cutler.
Ethan Cutler is not in the building, but we've got video on him. What do we know about him?
He's a local kid who's fast and scores goals, and
that's not bad.
Those are two things that the Red Bulls definitely like in their wingers.
And I thought over the 3 days in the Combine, I thought his play got better each day. I thought his best day was the third day. Some of the kids just need to get comfortable, and he's got some size, he's got some pace, he's willing to go at goal.
Well, the kid's a goal scorer. He's been the leading scorer in the Patriot League for the last 2 years, the Player of the Year there, and he's done a terrific job.
He's got some attitude too. That's the book on.
Is that the word?
Yeah, he's got a little bit of Mike Grella to him in terms. He's not, he'll be a rookie. He's not going to be a bad dude in the locker room, but he's not going to lack for confidence in his abilities. So I think they'll like that.
So you get a little New York vibe to him. Then.
He's a local
Jersey,
kid.
like a little Jersey vibe.
No, I thought he was good. I tried before the draft. I tried to put a sheet together just like I did when I was coaching. Said, okay, let me see if I can follow the same thing. He was a guy I had on my sheet. So he was a guy as if I would have been drafting, I'm looking now at this area, he's a guy that I would have been considering. So, I thought there was something there. You've obviously seen him a lot in college, and like you said, he scores goals. You can never have enough of that.
Yeah, and he's not really a wide player. He played wide in the Combine, did a solid job, and you could do that job. But this is a guy you put in the box. He's going to put the ball in the back of the net, and a late game sub could be effective.
All right, Ethan Cutler to the Red Bulls. Here comes FC Dallas.
With the 18th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, FC Dallas select from A&B Football Academy and a member of Generation Adidas Canada, forward Adonijah Reed.
The Montreal Impact are now on the clock.
There's Adonijah Reed, and a little bit of history here, right? Adonijah Reed with the pick?
Yeah, the first Canadian GA Canada, I guess we're calling it, ever taken. He's 17 years old. He is a goal scorer. I think maybe he projects more as a inverted winger in the league. He did not look intimidated at all by playing against guys 5 or 6 years older than him at the Combine, nor in League One Ontario, and it's a very Oscar Pereja pick, isn't it?
Let's hear from the young man.
So first off, I would like to thank the people that helped me on this journey, because without them, I don't think I'd be standing here today. And I'd like to thank my mom and my dad for always providing for me and believing in me. My siblings for whenever I needed help with soccer or just life in general. Everyone at A&B Academy, Coach Bassam, who played a big role on this journey. He never gave up on me, always believed in me. He just put in a lot of time and effort, and I couldn't thank him enough for that. Also, my teammates at A&B, they're always pushing me and making me the player I can be. And lastly, I would like to thank my agent, Nico Rufo, for his hard work on getting me to the Combine and getting this agreement with Adidas. Now I'd like to thank FC Dallas for taking the chance on picking me in this draft and giving me an opportunity to make an impact on their team and to play whatever role I'm given. Thank you.
Adonijah Reed.
Yeah, and my brother has a team in League One Ontario, and he talked about some of the young talent in that league. And this young man, as Siggy said, he fits very well into FC Dallas' scheme because he can play wide and he's got speed, he's got skill, he can run at you, but he's also effective in the middle of the park as well. For a 17-year-old kid, this is a great gamble.
No, it's a great pick this late. I mean, this is where you roll the dice a little bit, and you're picking up a GA, you're picking up a 17-year-old that's got some talent. And in the system you play, he can play on the flanks, in your system. I think it's a great pick. It's a good roll of the dice. If it pans out, it'll be fantastic.
And as Matt alluded to, Oscar Pareja is not against playing the youngsters, as we've seen. Let's head to the back. One of the big pieces of news today is A.J. De La Garza going from LA Galaxy to Houston Dynamo. Susanna Collins has Houston's GM, Matt Jordan.
Thank you, Russ. All right, Matt. Big day for you guys. You pick up A.J. De La Garza from the Galaxy, send them some allocation money. What does a guy like De La Garza bring to your squad? What do you see in him, and how can he help you guys?
Well, listen, we couldn't be happier about how the day went. We set out today with a clear plan, and we're able to leverage our first-round pick to bring in assets to acquire AJ, while also still keeping our 10th pick to get Joe Holland, who we rated right near the top of the draft. But to bring a guy like AJ, I mean, it's very exciting for our club. I mean, he's a winner. He's a consummate professional. He's a leader on and off the field, and he plays with such commitment, and so we couldn't be happier, and we really are very pleased how the days turned out.
It's been a busy offseason for you guys. There's going to be a whole lot of new faces on that squad. What's the biggest challenge in kind of finding a way to get these guys to gel and sort of play the way that you see them playing?
Well, yes, it's been a very busy offseason. We've added 7 new players, but the players that we've added, have clearly strengthened the team, have clearly strengthened each of our lines from the midfield from the defense to the midfield up front. And if you look, the guys we've acquired, they know how to win. They know how to win, and they understand what it takes to win. And a guy like AJ understands what it takes to win in this league. And so we're thrilled, we're excited, and we can't wait to get on the field.
Any more moves under your belt?
There could
What's
be.
coming? Can you give me the scoop?
There could be. Trust me, we're working, and you never know what could come up, but we're working tirelessly, and we're really excited about the season and where the direction the team's going.
Matt, thank you so much. Russ, back to you.
Matt Jordan from Houston Dynamo. We need to thank Sasha Sorovsky. We got to send you on your way, but thanks so much for all of your knowledge and for hanging out with us here during the draft.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me here. Appreciate
all right,
it.
we got to get you back to the podium because the Montreal Impact have a pick. It is in. And let's go back to the podium for that pick to see who they're getting.
With the 19th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Montreal Impact select from FC Edmonton and a member of Generation Adidas Canada, forward Shamit Shome.
So we go back to back on the Canadian Generation Adidas products here. Shamit Shome.
Misidentified as a forward there. He's actually a midfielder. I think that one of the reasons he dropped is nobody's sure what position in midfield he'll be playing. I think you compare him a little bit to Christian Roldan in that sense, and also in that his value comes from completing simple passes. He's not going to carve you up. He's just going to help you keep the ball and fill some gaps. Going to take a little work to get into the team.
Just to make it quick, I just really want to thank my friends for all the support they've given me the past couple of years. Even when things are down, they've really motivated me. And just my family, my mom, dad, my sister. I love you guys. You guys mean everything to me, and leaving home is going to be hard, but I'm excited to get to work with Montreal. I'm going to make sure I work my ass up, work hard to do well. I know a bit of French, so hopefully that helps too, but I'm just really excited to join them on preseason and just show them what I got. Thanks, guys.
Shamit Shome on his way to Montreal Impact. Back to the back of the house we go because Susanna Collins has the head coach of NYCFC, Patrick Vieira.
Thank you, Russ. All right, Patrick, busy day for you guys. You trade up to get the third pick, Jonathan Lewis. What did you like about this guy? What does he have that made you want to trade up to get him?
I think he really suits the way we want to play. He's quite really fast. He's really good in the 1v1, and that was a position that we was looking for. So we are really pleased that we managed to get him.
You've had some success at the draft before. Jack Harrison, obviously. Do you feel like this year you guys are just continuing to kind of get the pieces that you need to build the squad that you want?
Yeah, we are really happy with the players we got today. We have a really good team with Claudio, David, Khaled, who did fantastic work during the season, try to identify the players that we need. It's not just about today or about the last 3 games of the kids that we saw. It's a hard work that people are doing in behind. We came here prepared and knowing the players that will fit the system that we want to play. So it was a really good day for us.
You guys have made so much progress from your first season to the second season, making the playoffs. How hungry are you, though, to just kind of keep progressing, keep making that impact in this league?
We want to be successful, and we are not the only team, so it will take a lot to do well, to do better than what we did last year, because it's a really competitive league. We just have to believe on our project and keep working. And we had a really successful season last year, and it will be even harder this year. So we just have to keep working hard and believe that we are on the right way.
Be honest with me. How stressful is draft day? I want a candid answer, because I see a lot of people running around, and I want to get the perspective of what it's like out there on the draft room floor.
As a coach, it's not as stressful as it is for David or Claudio, because they are the one who has to run from one table to the other table. But we had a good plan last night. We prepared the day, and we are really, really pleased with the players that we're going to go back home with.
Patrick, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Russ, back to you.
All right, Suzanne, thanks a lot. Next pick is in. Minnesota United has it. They worked out a deal with Philadelphia Union. That's earlier in the day. So here we go. Minnesota United, the 20th pick of the second round, and it's in.
With the 20th pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Minnesota United FC select from University of Delaware defender Thomas DiValardi.
Big day for the Fighting Blue Hens. 2 players drafted.
Shout out to Matt Folger. I know nothing about this guy.
Fair enough.
Every coach I talked to, nobody mentioned him, and he was not at the combine. So
Sleeper of sleepers.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. They obviously have scouted him and seen something they like. I can't wait to find out what it is.
All right, that gives us more time, actually. Our next pick is going to be from DC United, and we haven't brought this up. The top college soccer player in all the land isn't at the draft. Probably would have been the #1 pick. Ian Harkes. His father, a U.S. national team and DC United legend, could be a homegrown player for DC United. What is going on, and what's going to happen, Alexi?
Well, what is going on is because he is so good, he and the people representing him are going to leverage that in order to get the best possible deal. I do think that someone like DC United wants him. They obviously know what he is. I think that the consensus is pretty unanimously that this is a player that can play and play well, is somebody that you want in your team. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think is a starter when he gets in there. However, if you're that good, you're going to have other options. I mean, I asked the commissioner earlier on this set about making sure that players don't look overseas at times. But you're going to, because it's a wide world out there. When it comes to money, if there's a better deal out there, he's going to use that as leverage to get the best possible deal. I don't know ultimately from this kid's perspective whether he wants to do it or not.
Are there Jordan Morris parallels to be drawn here? He went over to Werder Bremen over in Germany, decided to come back home. Can we make,
Yeah, a little bit, but also a little bit different because of John's background and heritage. He has the passport where he could play in England, where Jordan Morris necessarily didn't have that.
Right, Ian was born when his dad was playing in England. Right?
Exactly, and so he's able to do that. But it's like Alexi said, it depends on the individual. For Jordan, he's a little more of a homebody. He's done everything in his life step by step by step by step. And we sort of talked about that, went through, and I go, let's go step by step. Let's not jump here, because as he completes each step, he feels confident to go on to the next level. I don't know Ian well enough to say that. Certainly he's got the talent. Obviously it's good. It's good for negotiations. Let's be honest. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I always think players need to make this decision. Where can I go to play, not to train, to play at the highest level possible?
And one would think with the position that he plays on the field, he could slot in and play for
With
DC
the
United.
21st pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, DC United select from Radford University, defender Jovetle Rimstad.
The Seattle Sounders FC are now on the clock.
Anything to add?
This guy, Rimstad, I thought was smooth and read the game well. Not the quickest guy in the world, but again, if you see the game early, you can make up for some of that. He's older. He's going to turn 25 this year, so he'll have his work cut out for him, but he'll have his shot. I do want to get back to Ian Hart.
Yes.
Last year, in order to sign Jordan Morris, there was a one-time infusion of homegrown money specifically able to be used for homegrown players. Does that money still exist?
Well, to answer that money still exists, and what teams do, they'll basically spread that pool sometimes over 2 or 3 players. And what we did in Seattle, we decided to put that into one player.
Right.
Okay, so that
good
was
choice,
the way
by
that
the
we
way.
could. Yeah, it was, worked out. I thought it was a good decision too, and so doing it that way is something that made it work. But the league is very good about supporting the club when they're trying to make that sort of a situation happen. And I'm sure the league is going to stand behind DC United and help them make that situation happen.
Yeah, you don't want to lose a player like that. I mean, this is the battle for hearts and minds. And when you have a player who everybody recognizes is very good, you don't want that message being sent overseas. You don't want that message being sent to the kids that are possibly going to be standing up at a podium in a future date, that you're going to lose those players. And so it makes sense for them to do it, plus the fact that he's a good player.
He really, really is. I would have taken him number 1 overall in this draft. I think he has a long future in front of him as a top-level player, whether it begins here in MLS or overseas.
All right, we have reached just about the end. We are approaching the final pick of the second round. That'll be the end of our coverage here from Los Angeles. The third and fourth rounds will be done via conference call on Tuesday. You are not invited on the conference call, but we'll be putting the results of the third and fourth round of the MLS SuperDraft up on MLSsoccer.com shortly thereafter, or as it happens, I imagine, as well. Remember, opening weekend's coming up in March, but before we get into all that stuff, let's get to the final pick of the second round. It goes to the Seattle Sounders. The pick is in, and we're going to go up to the podium momentarily to hear who's being selected by the MLS Cup champion Sounders. And now we have a holdup. All right, well, you know what? Let's do this. We'll tell you the MLS opening weekend is March to Soccer. That's what we're calling it. It begins Friday, March 3rd with expansion side Minnesota FC, Minnesota United taking on Portland Timbers. That match will be on FS1 beginning at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. It kicks off a slate of matches on Saturday the 4th of March, Sunday the 5th as well. For more information, the whole schedule's out on MLSsoccer.com. I'm a little bit worried about starting a new conversation because this pick is going to come up soon.
Any second.
Yeah, any second. As soon as I begin the conversation.
I'll give it a name. I'll say Russell Cicerone, midfielder, or winger rather.
That'd be a guy that Alexi might like.
University of
hockey player out of
Buffalo.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lexi. You were right the last time. So
I got nothing on this. It either pops in there or it doesn't. In this case, we're just going to have to end with Lino telling us.
With the 22nd and final pick of the second round of the 2017 MLS SuperDraft, Seattle Sounders FC select from FC Nordsjælland midfielder Dominic Oduro. Thank you all for attending. Please tune in to opening matches on Friday, March 3rd. Hopefully we'll have another great season. Thank you.
Midfielder Dominic Oduro. Probably not as fast as the other Dominic Oduro who's in the league.
Still pretty fast.
But still pretty fast to the normal human, for sure.
Yeah, they put him at right back on day 1 of the Combine, and he struggled. They put him at D-mid for the rest of the Combine, and he was really pretty good. I don't know if Brian Schmetzer will want him making passes like that from central midfield, but I thought when he kept things simple, he was able to keep the game in front of him, protect his center backs. So S2 has a guy they can maybe develop next year.
All right, that'll be it. We'll see how we go. Any final thoughts on what we saw today? It started out with a lot of sound and fury. We thought there were going to be massive things happening at the top of the draft. It didn't happen, but how would you characterize this
I think
draft?
it was massive. I think the fact that NYCFC spent that much general allocation money on a teenaged American attacker, and we know what that was worth to them, $250,000. That's huge, and that sets the bar for these moves for really the rest of these drafts going forward. And by the way, NYCFC are building their team backwards. They're going overseas for their defense, and they're coming home to American and, well, college soccer kids for their attack. It's really different. I think that was the biggest move of the day.
I mean, look, this talent will come and go, and some of it will rise to the top, some of it won't. I think the fact that you mentioned that $250,000, the fact that we actually get to know that is $250,000 and how that plays into how we assess how good or bad it was, I mean, that's a revelation. That's something new that we can look forward to. The commissioner says maybe some more stuff going forward, but these are good things because these increase the talk and the dialogue and the debate and the discussion and the disagreement at times for was this right, wasn't this right, and just to see also the kids. I mean, they are kids to a certain extent, and their families and their girlfriends and everybody to have that moment, regardless if they never scale the heights and become incredible players, to have that moment to realize this portion of the dream. That's very, very cool for an old guy like me that was around when this wasn't around.
No, it's the big start for a lot of dreams, for a lot of ambitions for these kids. NYCFC, I agree, that was a big move. I also thought Portland's move with Houston, being able to get Ivo Bise out of the draft. Portland hasn't always done that well in the draft. You know, they've made some selections early, like Nick Beasler last year, didn't work out. This, I think, is a really, really good pick for them because I think he can play on the flank, he can play up top. So I think going into the draft, you're thinking, what's Portland going to get out of this? They came out of this with a lot more than I thought they would have come out, and that's what you want to do in the draft. You want to come out with an asset. They came out with one of the top 3-4 players who you can say, that guy's going to contribute next year, and that's a huge thing to come out of the draft
and
with.
add a position of need for them, and it gives them a little flexibility with Fernando Adi now, especially if Ivo Bise is able to develop on maybe a faster time scale than what they've done in the past.
Clean slate. Everybody looks good right now. The draft picks seem to fit perfectly. All the teams are set up better than they were a year ago. Guys, 3 hours and 45 minutes for 2 rounds of the draft. That was quick. It flew by. It was a lot of fun. Ziggy, great stuff. Alexi, we'll be watching for you on Fox for sure.
Thanks for having me.
We're reading your stuff all through the night, Matt Doyle. And thank you so much for watching us, Ziggy. As you mentioned, this is the beginning not only for these players, but for these teams. The beginning of the 2017 campaign. Who knows where it's going to end up, but we all know where they want to end up. And that's where Seattle finished. On the field in Toronto, holding up a cup. And what a moment it was for Major League Soccer and the Seattle Sounders on December 10th in Toronto when they finished it off on penalties to win MLS Cup. See you later.
We're going to penalties to decide MLS Cup 2016.
It's now a test of emotional control.
I mean, if you asked us at the beginning of the year or when we were struggling, if we would have taken going to PKs in the MLS final, we would have taken it in a heartbeat.
Once you set your 5 guys, it's really up to them. You give them, hey, concentrate, pick your spot, just don't change your mind at the last second. But really, the guys that we sent out there, we had plenty of confidence in.
Brad, and then you.
Number 2. You want in on these? It's up to you.
I prefer not.
You're in. What number you want?
Which one do you want?
3.
Here's the order. Evans, Andreas, Flacco, Joven, and then Nico. Everybody understand that?
Josie's first. Michael will be second. Ben third. Will fourth. Drew, you're fifth. Okay? With confidence.
To PKs, I could hardly watch them.
It's not a crapshoot. It's not a coin toss. There is an art to control your body and mind in this moment.
First of all, there's no pressure on the goalkeepers. The goalkeepers can only be heroes. All the pressure will be on these possibly 10 players who walk up to take a penalty.
Josie Altidore, 15 goals in 19 games since returning from a hamstring injury in July. The first player in league history to score goals in 5 consecutive playoff games in 1 postseason. And he will step up first. Big sigh of relief. Put his whole body into that one.
No fidgeting, no looking around, just very focused on the ball. I picked my side before, and as I set the ball down, I looked right and I looked left, just to kind of let the keeper know that I'm not really potentially into just going one way. I've only gone the other way a couple times, and it's worked out, but it was more subconscious than me actually trying to go the other way. So I take my typical run up, take a breath, and he moves on maybe I had 1 step left, 1 good stride left. He moves to his right, luckily, and so I just slotted bottom right and stuck with my side, put it in the corner with some pace, and a great feeling, great feeling.
And the captain now, trying to keep Toronto going. Saved! Well, it just might be Stefan Fry's cup. Shearu trying to get Toronto back on the front foot. And just beyond the outstretched fingertips of Fry. Lynn Irwin, can he come up with a big moment to level things for Toronto? And that's a big moment. Will Johnson, who had to watch from the sideline 2 MLS Cups, he was a winner in it. What a season he's had. Needs to make this to keep things on level terms. MLS Cup winner on this field in 2010. Can he put Toronto on the verge? And the newcomer of the year needs to make this. If he misses, if Irwin saves, Toronto wins MLS Cup. He'll be taking this in the 6th round as we begin sudden death rounds. Off the bar, and Seattle now a kick away from winning it.
And then Roman, out of all people, a center back, In fact, the practice the day before, we were playing small-sided games and someone got fouled, and he was like, I'm taking the PK, and he actually ended up missing it.
Roman Torres, what a beast he's been tonight. And now an opportunity with his foot to win MLS Cup for Seattle, which he has done.